This just in, you are looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. CNN.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations in the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a super special, possibly last, we'll get to that at the end of the show, episode of Unity or Death. Literally, as I was spooling this up, I was about to play the regular intro, and then considering the subject matter of today's show, I decided to play the End the Damn Wars one. And my thought process behind it was everything you just saw was the cause of all of the lies that Julian Assange exposed. All of these deaths, all these wars, all these murders, all exposed by Julian Assange. And a lot of people, surprising a lot of people, were unaware that he's sitting in trial right now, that his extradition case is going on today. It started yesterday, and I had to raise hell on Twitter to get a lot of people to even pay attention to it. And, you know, I figured it'd be a perfect time to have some people on. They've been on the show a lot, but I'm bringing on some people today that are so involved in Assange activism that they were included in a dragnet of surveillance against Assange activists on Twitter. So that's super fun. But first off, we have my good friend, Miss ComradeMisty.
Hello.
And
I feel like I made it. I'm on a list.
Right, yeah. List gang, let's go. And then always the great host of Slow News Day, Mr. Steve Poikonen. How you doing, my man?
I'm already on lists. This is like
I'm sure I am too.
Okay, it's another list.
Yeah.
You're targeting my Twitter. Oh, okay. That's cute.
My Twitter's entertaining at least. You're welcome, feds.
Right. Yeah, I posted that meme of like my FBI agent watching me make FBI agent memes.
I saw that.
And it's so good now that they literally came to my door, knocked on the door, and told me that they're surveilling my Twitter account. So I'm like, oh, you have to see everything I post now. This is gonna be fun.
I'm gonna pop over on your Twitter later and say hi.
I know. I literally today I tagged FBI Detroit, and I'm like, hey, if you ever visit again, do you want to talk about this? And I brought up the Muslim guy in Dearborn that they pretended to be a hot girl on Tinder and try to convince him to shoot up Applebee's for Allah. I'm like, can we talk about this if you visit again? But yeah, that was fun.
You should make him some tea.
But
have a chat.
Charge him for at least parking, if not rent.
Yes,
yeah.
Pretty much at this point. That's what, third time they visited me in the last 6 months. So yeah. But to the topic of hand, we're gonna kind of break this up into a couple sections. We're first gonna go down as neat as we can make this fucking bowl of spaghetti of a case to people, because a lot of people are just not aware of the Assange case. We're going to try to break down the history of it, everything, and then we'll talk about kind of the modern movement now, what's going on with it, complain about a lot of individuals that should be talking about this that aren't. And then we're going to break down the court trial itself, what's kind of been happening, and update people. And then the final section, I don't know if these guys are going to hang around for it, but they can if they want. I just have an announcement of what's going on with my life and what to expect in the future. The title of the show today kind of hints at it, but to the point at hand, Misty, Steve, if you want to open up, I don't know how let's go first, but you can start as early as you want. I'm gonna give us like a 30-minute-ish limit on this, as much as we can, to kind of break down what the fuck the Assange case actually is, because a lot of people, even someone today argued with me of like, oh, this is about the rape case in Sweden. No, they're like, oh, this is about collateral murder. It's like, no,
Kind of.
like, it's this, it's like the trial itself at least, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
30 minutes for like the history of WikiLeaks.
I mean, that one James and YouTuber did it.
Do that because I tend to rant.
If we're keeping it specific to the case, that might be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So in 2017, while in the embassy, Julian Assange released Vault 7, which is the largest drop of CIA, well, really knowledge, because it contained within it all of their hacking tools that they were using at the time. This is why people know that your Samsung TV can spy on you.
Mm-hmm.
That was, according to all available evidence, the straw that broke the camel's back. There had been a secret grand jury looking to indict Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. It was impaneled in 2012. That's what. 2010. That's why Chelsea Manning kept having to go back to prison. That's why Jeremy Hammond got yanked out of Oklahoma and flown to Alexandria Detention Center, the same place where Chelsea Manning was, the same place where Julian Assange would wind up for years awaiting trial at the Eastern District if he's extradited. So grand jury impaneled. Fast forward to 2017, Vault 7. This is post DNC emails, post Podesta emails, all that stuff. Post.
Yeah. Can we just point out quickly
disclosure.
that this is like the most badassery thing I've ever witnessed in my life, because Julian Assange is now years into illegal and arbitrary detention, and he's fully aware of the fact that he is public enemy #1 to the greatest empire the world's ever seen. And he published Vault 7 anyway.
Took just, instead of a shot across the bow, he just torpedoed the whole fucking
Yes,
ship
the CIA. He went straight for the fucking CIA. Like, fuck you guys. I'm going after the CIA. And that's
this is something I kind of
here's a step-by-step instruction manual for how they're hacking shit.
And this is something I kind of get mixed up. But did the actions, they were like the Spanish spying on him and everything like that, did that happen before the CIA leaks in Vault 7, or did that like after they pissed him off really bad? Is that when all of the totally neutral third-party countries started becoming very not neutral when it came to Assange?
Well, UC Global had been the security company for the Ecuadorian embassy starting in about 2015, I think is when they got the contract. So, or 2014 maybe. But when Trump got into the White House, so this would be February of 2017, going into like the spring and summer, that's when the back channel communication started happening. The original conference where David Morales was approached was in, I believe, August of 2017. So it was post Vault 7. It was also post Ecuadorian election. As soon as U.S. puppet president Lenin Moreno was a lock to be Ecuador's president, that's when the green light got hit on Sheldon Adelson's head of security at the Sands Casino in Vegas, approaching David Morales, the co-founder of UC Global, saying, hey, I know you have a job. I have a side job for you. Don't worry. It's okay. It's where you work. I made it really easy. You don't have to stress on the community. No extra hours. None of that. Just need you to get a couple of guys to plan some things. Specifically, we need the recordings of Julian Assange and his legal team. And by the way, we've set up a server for you. And you can live stream these meetings directly to the CIA. You can also, and I say can, I mean you're going to meet us here at the Sands or a Sheldon Adelson owned property and deliver us hard copy of this as well, which a UC Global employee did, if not David Morales himself, most of the time did, starting in 2017. This included all privileged communications that Julian Assange had, not just with his attorneys, but with his doctors, with his partner, with his business partner, everybody that they've communicated with. That was 100% under some form of surveillance.
And that's the other important detail too that I'm really happy that Jake Tan video brought up. But it got to the point where literally every single street cleaner, sign waiver, like taxi cab person, like you could almost guarantee that everybody within a 3-4 block radius of the Ecuadorian embassy was either being paid by the CIA or wasn't actually a CIA agent. Like you would walk around and probably accidentally bump into somebody.
And that's not even including all the British cops and spies, and they spent millions of dollars surveilling the Ecuadorian embassy. I mean, it was the most that's why the most surveilled building on planet Earth, and yet they had no evidence for what's his face? Why did my brain just go blank?
Paul Manafort.
Paul Manafort. Yeah, in his sandy colored chinos.
In his sandy colored chino.
Oh, there's the most surveilled building on Earth, but they don't have any video evidence to support the claim that Paul Manafort was there 3 times.
The fact, that Luke Harding was watching the fucking Adam Sandler movie where he's the golfer. Right?
Happy
Gilmore?
Because Paul Manafort already kind of looks like Shooter McGowan.
Yes.
And so that's where he got the sandy colored chinos. Yes. He did not like he's ever seen Paul Manafort in
Luke
a pair
Harding
of khakis.
is the biggest dumb fuck douche canoe on planet Earth. He is such a piece of shit. Sorry.
Luke Harding, if you're not familiar, Luke Harding is a journalist out of The Guardian. He co-wrote a book with a guy named David Lee, who is also a journalist with The Guardian. In that book, they gave away the second part of the hash pass for the entire unredacted file of Cablegate, which was the largest release of low-level classified diplomatic information in history.
I remember that.
And Julian Assange went to great length to redact it. When he released it, when WikiLeaks released it, Pirate Bay released it, and Cryptome released it entirely unredacted. To this day, no one from Pirate Bay or Cryptome has ever had to go inside a courtroom over it, just Julian Assange. Nobody, or rarely does that get mentioned. It was brought up during the witness testimony in September. In fact, the guy from Cryptome was the one who brought it up. And that great personal risk to himself, I would imagine.
It's kind of tricky to go to the CIA and be like, hey, why are you arresting the guy for the crime I also committed?
Right.
Props, you know?
Yeah, kudos. Seriously, to just go in there and be like, hey, we did this too. I mean, that's the New York Times problem that they talk about. I mean, if you're going to arrest Julian Assange, how the fuck is the New York Times not in prison? How is the Washington Post or the journalist from Der Spiegel or, any number of other publications who have published
BuzzFeed, fucking Intercept.
So many people have published the exact same information that Julian Assange published. And he's the only one who's seen the inside of a courtroom. And that's very telling.
Yeah. So back on the timeline.
So yeah, I'm trying. In February of 20. Okay, sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. The original indictment against Julian Assange was prepared and then executed on April 11th, 2019. That's the same day that Julian Assange was broad daylight kidnapped from the Ecuadorian embassy on a bail jumping violation for which he received the longest sentence in the modern era of British criminal justice. It was a 50-week sentence. That was up in what? Because of the way that the halftime worked, it was up around like September or October of 2019. Since that time, he's been in Belmarsh Prison, which is referred to as the Guantanamo Bay of the United Kingdom, without charges.
Yeah.
And this is
Not
an
being
important to
charged with
mention,
anything.
too,
Originally waiting to go to his first extradition hearing, and then ever since then, it's been in the appeals process. Bail was denied to him on a number of different occasions, and so he remains in more or
On
less
remand,
solitary
no
confinement.
charges, solitary confinement.
A remand
It's
prisoner.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first indictment wasn't much, and they couldn't do a lot with it. It was the original, I think, just one or a couple Espionage Act charges. They then came back with a second superseding indictment in early 2020. By the time right before the evidentiary hearing in February, by the time the witness portion of the testimony came or the hearing came around, oh, that's my telegram. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I didn't hear any of it.
I didn't hear it.
Okay, that was weird. Yeah, I didn't even know I had it open on the fucking laptop. At any rate, by the time the witness portion of his extradition hearing came around in September, there was a third superseding indictment. This now brought the total number of charges to against Julian Assange to 17 counts under the Espionage Act of 1917 and an additional count under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act of 1984, which Congress wrote after they watched the movie War Games and got freaked out. And that's now the laws that govern how people have to behave on the internet. That is a true story. In November, I think, or was it mid? It was either mid-October or mid-October. Judge Baretzer convened court and said, okay, I'll have a decision for you on January 4th of 2021.
It was mid-October.
That's right. That's right. Because it was before the presidential election when she announced that she was going to wait until after the presidential election to announce the decision on extradition. So that happened on January 4th. Judge Baretzer denied the U.S. extradition on 5 specific points. She agreed with 100% of the legal argument, which we can get into if we have some time. She disagreed on the grounds that U.S. prison conditions were better than U.K. prison conditions, that Julian should not be extradited because he had suicidal ideation. He was on the autism spectrum with Asperger's and would be determined enough and smart enough to take his own life, that his mental health had been evaluated, and she agreed with the assessment that both the Asperger's and ideation were enough, combined with the just overall shitholedness of U.S. prison systems, that extradition would not net anyone trying to prosecute him anything positive. The U.S. then appealed that. They were granted a limited appeal. They appealed that decision. And then over the last 48 hours, the High Court met to hear the prosecution's appeal argument. It was supposed to be that the prosecution couldn't relitigate the shit that they lost in the original hearing. They did exactly that.
This wild concept called double jeopardy that we're supposed to play by, but the government can just say fuck that if they feel like it.
So the last 2 days were basically the prosecution rehashing all of their argument from the witness portion back in September. It was them trying to discredit the entire testimony of the mental health expert the defense presented, a guy named Professor Koppelman, on the grounds that Koppelman misled District Judge Baretzer on the identity of Stella Morris, who is the partner and mother of Julian's 2 young children. Turns out, came out in open court yesterday, that not only did District Judge Baretzer know who Stella Morris was prior to the bail hearing that they were making a stink of, they're trying to say that this is how Koppelman misled her. She knew about Morris's identity back in April of 2020. So the entire argument was built on bullshit and lies. And then there was this whole thing about prison conditions and whether or not the judge should have cited reasons for the decisions that she made. It essentially amounted to, I didn't get my way. I wasn't explained to you in a way that I am okay with why I didn't get my way. Give me my way.
Yes.
And there's your history. I mean, unless we missed anything you want to jump in.
Oh, there's plenty of stuff that we missed, but that's like a bare bones.
Yeah,
I was saying, we can like I said,
skeletal as possible, and it still took 10 minutes.
Yeah, we still got like 15 minutes of any deep. Now that people know like the basic timeline, if we want to fill in any kind of details, I guess we can include at this point Susie Dawson's great work in stumbling on the fucking WikiLeaks dragnet, which is just wild, and it goes into a lot of details. And when I shared it, a lot of people were like, "Oh, of course they're spying on people and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand what came out, and this is why it's a little more important. The fact that it was including threat assessments for Twitter accounts, and it included fucking nobodies, literally nobodies, but because they had effectively raised." But no, you're somebody, Misty, whether you realize it or not. Yes, you are. You're somebody, whether you realize it or not. But I'm talking like people with like 100 followers on Twitter. But this dragnet, for whatever its weird deep data analytics, fucking cyborg person shit, who knows, had determined that these counts were effective enough in WikiLeaks activism that they needed to be spied on. And it's like, who do you think is using that data? Where do you think that's going? And as you know, Susie Dawson's report showed out, this entire dragnet came out and was originally created like I think like 15 minutes after Assange got arrested. So the government was literally like, okay, who's about to talk about this? Is anybody going to do something about this? Are there going to be protests, whatever? And they started compiling data immediately on everyone. And it's like, yeah.
And that's exactly when I got loud too. I mean, that's exactly when I got loud, is when he got dragged down the MC. I mean, I talked about it before, but I got really loud when he was kidnapped, for sure.
Yeah, and it's wild. And I can say
it is wild. It is 100% wild. It's weird. Like I guess it's not. I mean, it's to be expected. Like people are saying, you know, of course they're spying on people. Yeah, of course they're spying on people. But it's fucking weird. Like these are some weird ass psychopaths. But
I think it's just important, like the speed that they were able to compile, because I think a lot of people assume that these mass dragnet surveillance and stuff like that, it's like, oh, well, they take everything you posted over like months and they slowly build this profile. No, they literally within 12 minutes of Assange being arrested had a giant fucking data, just buckets of piles of information on everybody that had immediately been formed, which goes to show you the kind of tools they're working with, the power they have.
Exactly. It gives you a peek into the available, not just collection systems, but the way that all of this is collated and put together. It shows you the speed at which simple keyword and hashtag and shit like that searches can give you at least a general overview of who you might want to start looking at or looking into. It also gives people who want to misrepresent an issue the same basic overall structure on how to paint an organization as either good or bad, or paint a group of specific activists as either good or bad. Man, the ease at which people accept the surveillance is what bothers me more than anything. And I joked about it, but I also had over the last while taken a number of steps to greatly reduce the footprint that we leave. You know what I mean?
Because I think that's important for people. Like, I'll use this example just because a lot of people tuning in from like Fred Hampton leftists and your guys' community and stuff like this. If you think they're just using this for WikiLeaks supporters and not any kind, because they even mentioned it that this kind of targeting was also used around Force the Vote. It was also used around Medicare for All, probably used around all sorts of right-wing shit, everything. And
it's certainly used against Black liberation, Native American. I mean, come on,
everybody,
y'all. Yeah.
Everybody. And the example I was going to use is just imagine that same thing probably happened when Liv Romano got arrested. Literally the moment she got arrested, boom, this giant fucking monstrosity data collection thing.
Who supports this woman?
Yeah, who knows this woman? Who supports this woman? Who knows who supports her and who supports them? Boom, all that data. And immediately, like, protests are almost always the most effective when they happen around the event. So they're going into action to immediately shut things down or co-opt them or lie about them or whatever within 10, 15 minutes of them fucking happening. It's like, holy shit.
They're miles ahead of us, y'all. I mean, they have just the tools that they have and the abilities that they have to, like you said, like within 15 minutes, they know everybody that knows Liv, that supports Liv, that doesn't support Liv, why they support her, who doesn't support her, why don't they support her. They know everything. They know everything within 15 minutes. Boom. It's like they have all of that information and they can use that against you incredibly effectively. I mean, that's where the trolls get their information. That's where they, you know what I mean? Like that's how they know how to come after you and who to like try to get you affiliated with so that they can use that information against you. It's terrifying.
That's actually a really important example for you to bring up is I've been long on a campaign that a lot of the doxers and big shitty people on Twitter are not organic, normal human people.
No.
And where do you think a lot of that information comes from? How did me, who after literally getting banned off of everything off the internet, so there was no access, like I had no digital footprint. It was all gone. Anything that was tied to my fucking email address got wiped off the internet. But within a couple months, literally they have my mom's name, my address, all that. And these random, just shitty little 500 follower Twitter accounts are tweeting out my address, my license plate number, my full name. Where do you think they got that information from?
Yeah.
Well, and this is what pisses me off so much about all of the people that have gotten involved with the obvious op and limited hangout organizations that put on costumes and go play fight each other at every single event. You're the people doing the groundwork for the state who ends up using the information that you, super sleuth, gathered against a fucking activist.
Good job, guys.
Advocating for unity against the violence of the state. You, Tiger, you helped the state.
Imagine being that pathetic.
Not just against that activist, but against you and your friends. That's what you're doing every time you fucking team up and fucking slap on the cape and fucking hunker down to be the snitch brigade.
Yep.
Yeah,
and there's so many of them.
It's ridiculous. And on the right too. Like again, a lot of motherfuckers on the right do this shit too.
They're the same dogs unlicked as responsible for fucking ruining so many lives.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, this all ties into the Assange case because it's just important for people to understand. Like we can even briefly bring up the sexual assault allegations to where, thank God, Scott and Pete Cajones were literally just talking about this.
Thank you for doing it.
To where one of the women involved in that even came forward and were like, they misquoted me. They said I said things I never said.
They changed her statement.
Lied.
They changed her fucking statement. She refused to sign it, and then they went back and changed it without her knowledge. Read Nils Melzer. Nils Melzer's debunked the shit out of the sexual assault allegations in Sweden. And again, I just said this the other day when I was on a panel. What pisses me off the most about the sexual assault stuff is it's a fucking distraction. It has nothing to do with what he's being charged with right now. So if I don't care if you think Assange is a rapist and that he should go to court for that, fine. He has willingly attempted to cooperate with that investigation numerous times. He's never hidden from it. That's a big myth. He never hid.
He turned himself in the beginning.
Yes, and then he asked permission. He stayed for 3 weeks. He asked permission to leave the country. He entered the Ecuadorian embassy because he knew that he was going to, and he was right. He knew that the game was to get Sweden to get him so that they could extradite him back to the United States. And he was right. And so that's why he went to the Ecuadorian embassy, but he was always willing to cooperate with that investigation. And if you think that he's a rapist, fine, let him have his day in court, but that has nothing to do with what's happening in court right now. It's a distraction. Stop it. It's so fucking frustrating to me.
And seriously, whenever it comes to anything sexual, you have to understand, like, God forbid after fucking Epstein, this even has to be explained. The feds use sex as a weapon
All
That
the
is
time.
That is their go-to weapon. Like I literally talked about before the show that I tagged FBI Detroit because I've been trolling the fuck out of them after they told me to my face that they're watching my Twitter account of the case in Dearborn, Michigan, 30 minutes away from me, where they took a suicidal Islamic man and pretended to be a hot Muslim girl on Tinder and literally like promised to marry this dude and said he was like handsome and everything. Nerdy autistic kid, never had a girlfriend before. And then immediately switched on the fucking hammer and tried to convince him to commit jihad for Allah and shoot up an Applebee's. That was an FBI agent. So like this is what they do. Like so many,
Yes.
I get into arguments with these people all the time where they just dramatically underestimate the power and the resources of the federal government in that
And the willingness, they'll do anything. And Julian Assange has said that, like before he released Cablegate, he said himself, they will go to the ends of the earth. They will try to ruin me. But it's my responsibility to publish this information because it's in the public interest.
Yeah.
No, that's obviously, that's not his direct quote, but that was the gist of it. Like he knew that they were going to, and they'll do anything. They don't have there's no better angels there.
They said it.
Yeah.
In the Stratfor's chief of security laid it out a decade ago. We're going to pursue him to the ends of the earth. We're going to hunt him down. We're going to keep him moving from place to place to place to place to place. And Ray McGovern, friend of the show, friend of the family, Uncle Ray, but
Grandpa Ray.
He said that moving Julian from courtroom to courtroom or appeal to appeal to appeal is effectively doing the same thing.
And again, like I just pulled it up on the screen. They said it in court right here.
Today.
Even if we lose, we can start again with it, Mr. Assange, and issue another extradition request.
Yep.
So even if they are proven in a shadow of a fucking doubt, even if the UK like somehow magically gains a conscience and tells them to fucking kick rocks and never come back, they'll just file another one. They'll find a way. Especially
they're doing it to Joshua Schultz right now. He's in he's under special administrative measures right now in prison. He already had a trial, it ended in a mistrial. They admitted in court that they really don't have any evidence to prove that it was him that was the Vault 7 leaker. And he's still under special administrative measures awaiting a retrial. That's what they do. This is what they do. The process is the punishment.
And again, like to your point of to the end of the earth, it's another thing I want to bring up because a lot of people in the LP has been sleeping on this for some reason because I don't know, it's environmental activism, so it's some commie bullshit or whatever. I don't know. They're cope. But the Chevron case with what's his name? I'm blanking.
Stephen Donziger.
Yeah, Stephen Donziger. They have literally spent more money on legal fees to put Donziger in jail than they were originally requested to pay to the Ecuadorian government.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yo, the amount of money that's been spent on Assange, just this one dude, it's amazing.
Here's the thing with Donziger's case that should have everyone in the LP running around with their goatees on fire because they're all shaved head bald fucks because they all want to look like Pete. This is why. It's why they all want to be Pete. I get it. He's a handsome man. I get it. I would love to have you on the show, Pete. I know you watch magazines. But here's what should have all of these people screaming, dude. In that court, the court itself effectively acted like the CEO tribunal that was promised in the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Chevron prosecuted Stephen Donziger. A judge was just the fucking mediator.
Yeah, and that judge happened to have worked for Chevron before he became.
That's what I'm fucking
judge.
saying.
Like
Chevron prosecuted that fucking man. That he is everything that Stephen Donziger has gone through is what was promised to every single one of us in the TPP, and the fact that Chevron was willing to spend more than they were originally charged to give Ecuador in the fucking first place underscores the fact that it's their court system. You know they're going to see that money back. You know they are.
Yeah, because I think the exact number was when they lost, they were forced to pay out 1.9 billion to Ecuador, and then I think Donziger's actual numbers was like they spent 1.6 billion to put him in jail. So literally almost as much as they could have just shut the fuck up and not poisoned goddamn the rainforest and gave them some money.
Look at how much activism they managed to shut down as a result of it. Look at how many people's resources they managed to tie up. Look at, I mean, dude, we were screaming for people who had been covering Donziger to cover Julian Assange while they were at it. And they were like, there were a couple of people that were honestly like, look, if we stop, then nobody knows about this shit because we're the only people talking about it. It's actually, I know what that feels like. I do. Here, let's help
join
each
hands.
other.
Which actually, we actually go into part 2 of this, which is bitching about the current state of the Assange movement. I went to fucking war on Twitter. Literally, I woke up this morning.
Yeah, you did. You chose violence.
I chose a lot of violence. I literally woke up and I'm like, I haven't seen anything. So I went, because Twitter has this amazing search function that nobody uses enough because it's the greatest way to shut people up in the fucking world. If you're on Twitter on a browser, not the app or a computer, you can go to advanced search and you can keyword search accounts to see if they had ever talked about something or the last time they talked about something. I went through every single major account, every single popular podcaster, every single like major voice, whatever, that has voiced support for Assange. So these aren't like these are people that say they have support Assange. And obviously I didn't include like neocon conservatives that hate Assange, but I did include like conservatives like Tucker Carlson or like Kennedy and stuff like that do support Assange. None of them, besides Scott Horton and Clint from Liberty Lockdown, who was just on a show with us the other day, had said anything about him in the last 3 months, despite the fact that he's on trial today. And I lost my fucking mind. I was like, bro, are you kidding me? Oh, and Ron Paul, I'm sorry, but Ron Paul's just, the GOAT.
Yeah,
so it is what it is. So I just started tagging people. I'm like, hey, day 2 of waiting for LP National or the Mises Caucus to say anything about Assange. Day 2, waiting for Dave Smith to say anything about Assange. Day 2, waiting for Thomas Massey or fucking Larry Sharp or Justin Amash or any of these big libertarians or conservatives or whatever to say anything. Dave Rubin, Tim Pool.
What about Tom Woods? What about Michael Malice?
I didn't tag Malice because that's a good way to
I will.
die. Go for it if you're a brave man.
I'll do it. I'll fucking do it.
No.
No, it's only because I want to be able to
do
see
that
my
right
Twitter
now.
notifications ever
You're
again.
welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you. But no, literally, I tagged everybody. I'm like, why are we not talking about this? Because this is like, if you want to talk about the modern Libertarian Party, because obviously the Libertarian Party has been around since like the 1970s, but the modern LP that everyone understands, the post Ron Paul Libertarian Party, the wearing this mask with the fucking porcupine Libertarian Party that I met and I love tons of people from it. Everything you care about, every issue you fight on, even the lockdowns. Thank you, Julian Assange. Your movement, your party would not be shit, and nobody would take you seriously when you talked about the Fed or anti-war or the intelligence agencies or police brutality. No one would believe any of that if it wasn't for Assange and Snowden. So the fact that none of you even know, a lot of you don't even know that Assange is in fucking trial today, and then even more of you haven't said shit about it, that's fucking war on me. And I posted, which is hilarious to me, of the conservative and libertarian war cry for the last 5 years has been freedom of speech. And I agree 100%. I'm team on that. And there's been a lot of assaults on free speech, and you do have the woke shit, which everyone on here and all my friends that are on the left hate just as much as you do. But that's been your keystone. That's what you've been arguing about more. You're literally bitching about Dave Chappelle 24 hours ago.
Yeah, and stop equating all leftists like in the same. No, I'm so
yes,
sick
please.
So sick of that
But
shit.
that's getting my point. Okay, so that's what you've been running on. And then when I type hashtag Assange, and I don't see a single fucking conservative, a single fucking libertarian, but I see a whole bunch of socialists, I see a whole bunch of communists, I see Jeremy fucking Corbyn talking about it, but not like not anyone in the conservative or right wing in America. What the fuck? Dude, like shut up. Like that's why I even made that post. I'm like, right now the left is fighting harder for free speech than any of you are by 100-fold. And if you do not immediately correct it, I will never forgive you, and I will never forget this. I was mad.
Yeah, you
I
were.
was fucking mad.
Love to see it. I love to see it, dude.
That's my
and you got some wins today, dude. You got some people talking, which is fantastic. And you said that a lot of people didn't even know that there were hearings yesterday and today, which that's not surprising because nobody has been talking about it. Nobody has been following it. Other than me and Steve and there's some people, but it doesn't get a lot of coverage, and it is like pulling teeth to get people to talk about it. Trust me.
Yeah,
it sucks.
I noticed that when the Yahoo News story broke and people were covering that they still weren't going, oh, and by the way,
There's hearings coming up.
Julian Assange will be in court. Will be, we just found out it was pretty easy if you work for an accredited news agency to get credentials to get the video link to this thing. We didn't know. Fuck, we're going though, and to a degree, according to Kevin Gostola, that happened. He did say yesterday that there were more journalists in the video feed rooms than at any other point private. Yeah, any other point previously. Which cool, but with it, is it translating into the kind of coverage necessary to save free press?
No.
I don't think so. Not if the media wants to create a national moment, they know how to do it.
Yes.
And
y'all,
we see that building with the fucking Rittenhouse Part 3 bullshit that we're all going to have to deal with for the next goddamn 2 months.
But here's what pisses me off. This story is juicy as fuck. It reads like a fucking spy novel. I mean, you have the UC Global case where he's being spied on in the Ecuadorian embassy. All of his visitors are being spied on. Their electronic devices are being taken and cloned, and their legal papers are being taken and copied, and his medical documentation is being stolen, and his kids are being stolen.
Raul
They're stealing diapers
through the trash to hope he can find
a
diaper
so that they can find out if this baby is his. And then you have the fact that Siggy Thordarson comes out and he admits that he lied. He's the key witness about this whole indictment that they have out about the computer intrusion charge. He admits he lied. He's full of shit. Not only is he full of shit, he's a convicted pedophile and like a career criminal who was once convicted of embezzling money from WikiLeaks
by impersonating Julian Assange.
By impersonating Julian Assange. And then you have the Yahoo article, which Max Blumenthal covered a year and a half before they did, but whatever. They come out and it's that's a mainstream outlet, and here they come. They're gonna it's breaking news, and it's a mainstream.
That's it. Like my favorite part of that was literally the details that they had took the trash guy that was dedicated on that route and replaced him with a CIA agent.
Yes,
so there was
everybody.
There was a man who probably gets paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year salary, getting paid to dress up in one of those yellow little fucking suits and throw garbage in a trash bag to spy on Assange.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yes.
Holy
and
fuck.
Seriously, but and then there's these
it's
plots to murder
him.
Meme. Legitimate plots to murder a journalist. Shootouts in the middle of London streets, with Russia. That's Michael Isikoff has to throw his Russia gate in there. We're going to have shootouts in the middle of London with Russia, and they're going to shoot out the tires of a plane and all this shit. It is juicy. This is a crazy good story. And not only is it a crazy good story, it's a historical court case. What?
Sheldon Adelson's ex-CIA, ex-Mossad head of security is the go-between between the shady fucking Spanish security company that's guarding the embassy
CIA
and the trumpet. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. This is a juicy ass story, and it's a historical court case. This is the first time a journalist is ever going to be charged under the Espionage Act, and nobody's covering that. And you're going to tell me that the media isn't broken? What the fuck?
It's the first time a foreign journalist is being charged under any country's version of espionage or secrecy laws. Not only that, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act charge criminalizes source protection and investigative journalism going forward. Not only that, fucking Claire Dobbin, one of the junior prosecutors for UK and the US, flat the fuck out said this is about the U.S. gaining international jurisdiction over the press. Imagine.
And yeah, especially when you go into the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. If you're an anti-fascist activist, that's what they got Daniel Baker on. If you're a fucking indigenous activist or a BLM activist, that's what they got Lauren Reed on. If you're a Second Amendment activist, that's what they got Philip Archibald on. If you're a fucking revolutionary anarchist like we are, that's what they got my friend fucking John on. If you're a conservative who's a big Trump
what they got
person,
Jeremy Hammond on.
Yeah, if you're a conservative and a big Trump person, that's what they're charging. I think a fourth of the fucking people that weren't even in Washington D.C. that they're trying to throw in prison over the January 6th shit. It's the Computer Abuse and Fraud Act they're charging them with. This is literally everything you fucking care about.
That's been our point about the case in general for all activism, because all activism lives or dies on your ability to communicate your message to people who don't already know it, don't already agree with it. might have heard about it kind of, but need to know more about it because they've only had the propagandized version of what it is you do.
Come on, I'm sure it's fine if we give the United States complete control over the narrative. It'll be fine, you guys.
Right.
It'll be
Well,
fine.
I did look after booster number 7. It's not going to matter.
Right. Fuck
Yeah,
it.
we're on
Oh,
YouTube.
fuck your boosters, bitches.
Oh yeah, seriously. It's I just don't get it. And when it comes,
I don't either. God damn it, it's frustrating.
like because I can go in, like, obviously on like the progressive, the conservative, and all of the kind of major ones, I can understand that that's an op. Like, that's people getting fucking threatened and money slid under the table and working for the government. They're told not to talk about this. But when I go into the third parties and the kind of like the people without adjectives like we are and everything, and people aren't talking about it, that's when I get confused and mad, especially when it comes to the LP. And I almost have a theory that the culture war shit has gotten so bad that because only people on the left are talking about Assange right now, that a lot of the libertarians and the conservatives won't follow people on the left because of the woke culture war bullshit. So they don't even know this is going on.
Well, what
Allow
pisses
me
me
to
off
be
about
your
that is those people
ambassador.
clearly don't know any actual leftists, because leftists aren't like that, y'all. We're not like that. It's so
But I said,
frustrating.
like fucking Caitlin Johnstone like makes a post every other week talking shit about anarchism, and I could just like get mad and fucking block her and be like blah 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 blah, or I could just keep scrolling, and then the next post she makes is about Assange, and whoa, I didn't even know this detail.
I don't know, like, why is it so difficult for people to understand that you're never going to agree with anybody on everything? That's just not going to
I've
happen.
argued
It's not gonna
with
happen.
Katie in public on Twitter. I
I saw
still
that.
retweet her stuff. She still retweets my stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she's a
It-
grown up.
We're all grown ups. It's
You know what I'm
crazy.
saying?
And that was the
Like,
other thing
I-
too. Is like I flew off the handle in that video of like, I could understand if like a giant thing about Fauci broke, or if like some big thing about CRT or some leading news article happened over the last couple days, and maybe that's why all the conservatives are distracted in culture war bullshit. I would at least understand. But I look over the last like 72 hours to 4 days, there's been no major news.
No.
It's just Assange. That's the only thing that's happening right now. The Fauci fucking puppy shit was like 2 weeks ago. Like all, there's no major news story besides
No.
Assange.
I've
So
been
what the fuck are you
doing.
talking about?
I've been doing a live show every morning this week. I have been like, last night I was kind of like, fuck, am I gonna have enough shit to go through
Mhm.
when when humanity, hey, hi, you're awesome, thank you for everything that you do and you've done, you rock.
Yes,
dude,
when we get to the fourth part of this show, we're gonna have a big bonding moment over the government ruining our lives. Trust us.
yeah, then
Yeah.
I'll save all that.
But I don't know the case. I don't know the argument. I don't understand like why
They don't have a case. That's the
No,
point.
I mean no, not even with the Assange thing. I just mean like why people aren't talking about it. Because like I said, why
Because
isn't
Magnus,
Tucker
you're
Carlson-
absolutely right. You've already correctly identified it. Julian Assange has been used as a culture war fucking weapon. Not just in the last year or so, but historically throughout.
And they've effectively propagandized every demographic against him in some way. And so
And they
everybody I
use
talk to hates
people
him for
that
different
Julian
reasons.
Assange has helped and gone to bat for to demonize him when they need someone from that particular demographic to go out and talk some shit.
Yes.
That's
but-
happened across the board.
Yeah,
And
it's-
everybody's looking at me like you're just talking about Chelsea Manning. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
It's wild to me too, because like I'm not going to delete any of those tweets because I'm going to keep them for prosperity. But the person who runs the Mises Caucus account like reached out to me. I sent you guys like I'll make a post about it tomorrow. Great, but I get particularly mad on anyone who calls themselves like a Ron Paul Republican or a Ron Paul Libertarian or anything, because what is the three things that Ron Paul is known most for? Anti-war, anti-Federal Reserve, and being one of the first people to lay down in the mud and almost have their entire life ruined defending Assange, to the point where he still does it today. Ron Paul was one of the first major figures to be like, no, fuck you guys, this guy's cool. And then I go to like all these major people in the Mises Caucus. It's literally platforms and brands itself as the Ron Paul Revolution Part 2. And you're not talking about that. Like, that's one of the three things he's most known for. Like, what? I just get so fucking mad. God damn it.
I feel you, dude. There are people that follow, like leftists who follow me on Twitter, who are otherwise incredibly intelligent human beings, who are humanitarians and who are empathetic and who claim to be fighting against fascism. And like you said earlier, that's why I did this whole thing, because there are so many people in my timeline who are like, yeah, we got to fight fascism. And I'm like, where the fuck are you on Assange? Hello? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But they've been effectively propagandized for a multitude of reasons. Like, people on the right hate him for one reason, people on the left hate him for one reason, people in the middle hate him for another reason. They've effectively created this smear campaign against this one dude. And again, they've spent a ton of time, money, and resources demonizing this one dude and destroying this one man's character. And so you can't even, like, it's like the rape allegations. People hear that and their brain shuts off, and they don't even like stop to think that, oh, that's not even what he's in court for, so maybe we should just put that to the side and deal with the process at hand. They're very good at what they do. And like, so
Every protest,
he smears
every
poop on the
protest.
wall or
Let's say,
whatever.
Every protest, there's one white man who is at least 70, if not 170 pounds overweight. And unfortunately, like half of them have this fucking haircut. All right. But like to a fucking,
I can't unsee that, Poikinen.
to an event, one of these pieces of shit, he's the rapist.
Yeah. Every time.
Really? That's a hell of an allegation. Can you prove that? And the first time we went to Washington, D.C., I got to watch Jason Burmis fucking huffle his Jello pudding tit having ass after one of these dudes and fucking chase him down in broad daylight, put a camera in front of his face and go, would you care to explain what you just said?
It doesn't take long for that to fall apart. It doesn't take, like, once you start digging into the rape allegations, it immediately starts disintegrating. I mean, within like 3 seconds of talking about it, it's falling apart completely.
Yeah, and it's just wild to me too that like you pick any issue, literally any activist issue. I don't care if it's housing, the environment, anti-war, fucking Medicare. It doesn't pick your Second Amendment. Pick your issue. There is not a single example of any movement, cause, fight, or case in the last 100 years that is not 2 to 3 steps removed from either COINTELPRO or WikiLeaks. Period. Every single topic, every single issue, you could somehow connect to this. So it's like, let's go, people. Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm gonna grab another drink real quick. So okay.
This is seriously like the most frustrating thing in my life right now, is because I get mad at myself because I can't find the right words to make people understand how serious this is. Like how, like, it's legit. This is not a game. And I realize I'm overly dramatic about it at times, but not even really all that much, because it is fucking dramatic. This is really scary shit. Like Steve said earlier, the United States is literally seeking global jurisdiction over information and journalism. And if that sentence doesn't terrify you, you haven't been paying attention.
Think of it this way. Whether you're on the left or on the right or wherever it is you fall, picture in your head whatever the most authoritarian regime you can imagine is. Now let's say that they decided that anyone who jaywalked anywhere in the world, they could throw in a concrete coffin indefinitely until they had them brought to their country where they could charge them under their anti-jaywalking laws. That's what's happening here. And that's what they want to do with the press. It's what they want to do with journalism. Yes, Free Commander X. November 9th, San Jose, California, 100 South 1st Street, 9 a.m. Me, Glory Jones, Keith McHenry, Food Not Bombs, whoever else we can rally up and bring down there. We are going to be making noise for Commander X. It'll be his next court appearance, and we're honestly hoping for a resolution, and one that will allow X to live out his life, not behind bars,
not in a box. But that's I'm glad you brought up Commander X, because I was literally about to say something else too. Of it's not just Assange, because there is a litany of people I might not know off the top of my head, but I personally know a couple of them that are secondary to the Assange case, and they might just be Assange supporters. They might have nothing to do with WikiLeaks, but they're just vocal Assange supporters that have been fucked with, spied with, had to flee the United States to get away from the harassment and attacks by federal agency, that have had their mail fucked with, their cars fucked with, their brakes cut, like all sorts of wild shit. Susie Dawson's one. I'm sure you guys can mention other people of people that, you know, fuck, Glenn Greenwald has had to like move multiple places and have a dedicated security team because he's fucked with so much. Like, so it's not, you don't even have to be Assange. You just have to talk about Assange too much and be too effective, and they will try to fuck with you.
Yeah. No, that's it. Again, it sounds, when we talk about it, I get why people are like, it sounds crazy. Like, you sound like a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, you know, like it sounds nuts, but this is real life. Like, this is legitimately what's happening. And the dude is being tortured to death. Again, he's like no charge. Like, he's in a supermax prison, essentially under solitary confinement, with no charge, and he's being tortured to death. There was a picture that was released, that somebody, I don't know who you were who took it, but thank you. You're not
Don't
supposed
ever
to take
tell us
pictures.
who you are.
Don't ever tell us who you are. I don't want to know. Don't ever tell us. Randy.
Don't ever tell anyone. Don't ever tell
anyone. Nobody. But Randy Credico posted it. Thank you, dude. Thank you, dude. Thank you, dude. He's done it before, and he's
again,
cool about it.
For all we know, they could snatch his ass just for doing that.
Yes, they could.
100%. They can. And look, dude, I have, you know, I don't even know if I've talked about it. I'm about Randy, but what he's most effective at is shit like this.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy, at least for a while, could get places that absolutely none of us could.
Mm-hmm.
And could probably still. The one chance I had to corner Randy's good pal Roger Stone, I made him run away from the stream because I didn't give him any fucking room to dance around like
his bullshit.
Any of his bullshit, dude. And it was right after he had got pardoned. And I'm like, don't you think you should be spending every waking moment advocating for the pardon of Julian Assange? Since your testimony trying to brag about shit that never happened definitely helped spoil public opinion on him. And he's like, blah. And then fucking another dude jumped in trying to say something to him, and he just bloop, he was gone.
Yeah, fuck you. Piece of shit.
Seriously. And that
that was the day I met Roger Stone.
And that'll be the last day you meet Roger Stone.
The last day.
Yeah, never allowed again. You know, it reminded me a lot of Franco's fucking little stunt he pulled that we love him so much for with the eviction moratorium shit. Great stuff. But yeah, like it seems harping on, and we get annoyed with it all the time. But it's like every day I run into somebody that doesn't know any of this shit.
Yes. I talked to Bess from Millennial Splaining, and she didn't know that Julian Assange wasn't American. She's like, I had no idea. And I'm like, yes, he's not even American. We're charging him under our laws, but affording him none of the protections. It's unbelievably insane. That's another, it's like
with an outlet that isn't registered in the US.
Yes.
By the way,
WikiLeaks
the outlet
is not an American company.
Registered.
It's not an American publication. Julian Assange has never been an American citizen. And yet we think that we can charge him under our Espionage Act, but our First Amendment doesn't apply to him. And if that isn't wanting your cake and have like eating it too, I don't know. And
it's funny because the Communications Act that they keep charging people under all the time explicitly lays out that is for cross-state communications on American networks. That's why the FBI can be involved at all. So how are you charging Assange with an Icelandic company, an Australian in fucking Sweden, in the United Kingdom, charging him with committing it's different, but it's essentially the same as wire fraud in the United States for data that never once touched the American fucking internet until
and just before he was
published.
arrested, he was also an Ecuadorian citizen, and they stripped that his Ecuadorian citizenship from him without due process, illegally just stripped so that they could send the British police in to arrest him. It's amazing that all of this stuff is happening in broad daylight. They're not hiding it. I mean, nobody's covering it, but they're not hiding any of this stuff. It's happening out loud.
After Magnus goaded Dave Smith into saying something about Julian.
Good job, Magnus.
And yeah, congrats, Magnus. And thank you, Dave.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
I quote tweeted that just because and said the absolute insanity of this case from start to finish should have every single individual who says there's a libertarian in the streets and in front of their Congress critter just catching up on the last 48 hours would be enough to break most people's brains, because it would be. And there are very, very good communicators inside the LP and inside the couple of, like, I don't know, okay leftish groups, you know, that could really effectively, beneficially educate a fuck ton of people all at once, a very short amount of time. If they took fucking 2 hours out of their day to have a talk with Kevin Gostola, or have a talk with Juan Passarelli, or even
David
one of us,
McBride, or fucking,
you know, I'm like, there's people that have lived this shit that can elucidate what's happened much, much, much better than me. You know?
And I honestly think that's why, again, like we'll get into it in the fourth part of the show. I honestly think that's why the FBI ramped up their targeting of me, because they didn't like me just when I was militia member. They didn't like me when I was a Unity advocate, but then I started hanging out with the Assange crowd. They really didn't like that. So like
they don't like us.
They don't like us at all, dude.
So I kind
haven't
of hit
had
all three corners of what they fucking despise in this world.
I haven't had a flight that has gone off without a hitch in 2 years.
I'm glad I can drive to DC, because Steve's flights get fucked with all the time.
Oh, yeah, literally, I've only been on a plane 3 times in my entire life. The first time went fine. The second time was iffy. The third time, I swear to God, I never had a more fucked up. I would take the DMV in Southside Detroit over anything that I experienced the last time I tried to make it to end the damn wars. I fucking got stopped for multiple security checks, had everything ripped out, had to throw a bunch of shit away that didn't even have to throw away, and had to sprint 1.5 miles through fucking Wayne County Airport to get to my plane 50 seconds before they closed the doors. So like,
yeah, fuck. I mean, it's intense. Like, they really don't like the Assange movement at all. Assange tweets are unbelievably shadow banned.
Oh my God.
There was a petition.
For everyone who doesn't know, if you type in Assange to Twitter, it
and
still links to arrested. It still links to arrested.
And still happens, and that just started like this past week. So before, if you were to look up Assange, you would get Assange stuff, right? But now, if you search Assange, if you go to the latest tab, it brings up tweets about being arrested. Has nothing to do with Julian Assange.
Yeah,
and that just started right before the court date. I'm sure it's a coincidence.
Misty. It's just a bug.
I'm sure it's fine. They didn't do it on purpose or anything. They wouldn't do that. That's ridiculous.
Never manipulating algorithms or anything.
And it's no different than the Netflix releasing the We Steal Secrets documentary just a few days. It's a propaganda piece. It's a smear piece. It's bullshit. It's garbage. It's a.
So I've gotten to talk about this on a couple of other people's shows. I don't even know if we talked about it on Sloan Newsday, but my favorite thing about Alex Gibney, the director of We Steal Secrets, is that his whole career is based on doing politically motivated hit pieces to suit a specific neoliberal agenda. This is a guy who did Smartest Guys in the Room, the Enron documentary. That was more of a hit piece on George W. Bush than it was on Kinley or Enron or how the financial system works. It was directly a Bush hit piece. Alex, this is great. Alex Gibney's dad was a guy named Frank Gibney. Now, I would
Are you about to mention DARPA? Because I'm going to smile.
No, Chloe. I would like each and every one of you at home to Google Frank Gibney and the CIA. Frank Gibney was a guy who produced only propaganda for the CIA. He wrote a book about Russian spies that became like one of those, it just sort of, this set the tone for all of the Hollywood bullshit and all of the TV bullshit about Russian spies for about 30 or 40 years. The director of We Steal Secrets is a legacy CIA mouthpiece.
Imagine my shock.
I got to tell that. I got to tell that to Garland Nixon and Dr. Wilmer Leon on their show, The Critical Hour, and they were howling. Wilmer looks it up on the air in real time and reads off a little bit of Frank's bio on Wikipedia. Like, it's known, it's what he's famous for.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
And this is what they do.
Imagine my fucking shock. And
I
seriously though,
know.
like I am glad that like my warpath hasn't ended. Seeming this trial is supposed to go for how many days is it supposed to go for?
No, it's done. We're done.
We're done.
There'll be
Okay.
a decision in weeks. We don't know how long. They'll drag it out probably till November, December. Who knows?
Right, but until in that time between now and then,
Oh, we need to be on a warpath.
yeah, as I say, it's not just enough for me. Like, I appreciate Dave for retweeting it. I appreciate the Mises Caucus for retweeting it. It's not enough to just pick a tweet from the account or from Misty or Steve or Caitlin or Samira or any of these people, retweet it once and type hashtag Assange.
No.
Like you need to channel this show and you need to channel Scott Horton's show, which is probably wrapping up right now. And literally everyone who is fucking important need to do a show or a long tweet thread or an
I don't
article.
care if you're not important. Everybody needs to be loud as fuck. Now's the time. Now is the time.
And yeah, and not just being loud, but break down this case like we have. Use details. Bring on people that are familiar with it.
If you don't know details, ask me. Ask Steve. We will help you. I will any time of the day. I will help you. If I'm around on Twitter, I'm happy.
Yeah, if I'm awake, I can link you to like the 4 or 5 different things that'll keep you busy for a fucking year.
I will find you guests if you want guests for your show. I don't have a ton of connections, but I'll use the ones I do have.
She's lying
to get
through
you
her
guests.
teeth.
I don't have a ton. I have some connection. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna do the Taylor Swift thing that I usually used to do.
Misty.
What?
We have a lot of the same connections.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be humble about it, man. Like, I know some people and I enjoy getting people together.
Yeah.
It's a thing that I like.
Like, I can't get you Stella. Like, she follows me, but we don't talk. Like, I can't, I'm not like that cool, but I can get you Juan Passarelli. I could get you, Deepa Driver.
Or, I just put Juan and Fee together.
I got Juan for the ACLU panel that we did, and it was so awesome to see him. I haven't seen him in forever.
Like we can get you Assange's fucking family. We can get you all sorts of.
Yeah, I can get you
people.
Gabriel Shipton. I don't know. I could probably get you John. Like, I mean, y'all, I can help. I do have some connections. You're right, Steve. I am being a little bit too modest.
Get you a guy who has a volume signal boost. If you ever talk to John Shipton,
yes, he's very soft spoken.
That is a whisperer. And he's got the twinkle in his eye, and it's magical.
He's so cute.
I love him so much. No, dude, it is captivating.
It is.
And that's genetic, and it's on a level frightening.
He is so
Magnus.
charming.
There was a comment that I got addressed from Jason Booth, saying, the newest thing where they say. Assange is that's not a new thing.
That's not a new thing, and they're not saying that people have to take care of him.
The argument isn't that's why he needs to have people take care of him.
This is going to piss me off.
The prosecution went out of their way to downplay all of this, and
he doesn't need people to take care of him. Autistic people don't need people to take care of him. He's at an increased risk of suicide. That is a literal fact. I have a child who's autistic. The risk of suicide in autistic people is 3 times higher than the regular population. So it's not about being taken care of.
But just for everybody knows, Jason is my homie, and Jason is also autistic. So
I get pissed off. That's because that's just misinformation. I'm not pissed at you, Jason. That's misinformation. You've been fed misinformation, or you've read it the wrong way, or what. He doesn't need people to take care of him. That's not the argument. That's not the argument.
So what was released in court was what.
Yeah, okay, we can actually get to like a couple of things that came out with the court to be.
What was released in court is what a lot of people who were like, somewhat in and definitely in the WikiLeaks inner circle, and people that had interacted with Julian, people that had known people in all of those spaces for years, had long known is that Julian Assange has Asperger's, and it's one of the things that has led to some of the greatest moments in journalistic history ever, hands fucking down.
Yeah, normal people don't become master hackers at like age 14. Just saying.
Well, and he has like this. this solid dedication to truth. Like he's autistic people generally, and this is a general statement, this is not everybody with autism is different, but they have their focus, you know what I mean? My kid is obsessed with animals, and she can tell you anything you want to know about animals. I oftentimes have to Google shit that she says to see if she's right. She always is, and then I feel dumb because my 13-year-old is smarter than me. But and his focus, I think, has just been exposing injustice, and he is extremely dedicated to that. Obviously, I mean, he has put himself at great personal risk, to do the things that he's doing knowingly, like he knew what was coming. I
want to make this very clear too. The prosecution has gone out of their way to weaponize on one aspect and downplay as much as possible on the other, the Julian's mental condition and his Asperger's. Then court just yesterday, this piece of shit James Lewis, QC, the mega brain, spent time first attacking Julian's mental health, arguing that he was a malingerer, which is a Victorian era term for someone who's faking crazy.
And can we talk about how weird it was that that was the time that Julian Assange was being shown on the video link, and he was sitting there looking horrible and pale and thin and obviously unwell, and they're like, he's watching these strangers have conversations about his mental condition.
That's the two things I wanted to hit on. They kind of go together, but by the way, I think Steve, you're echoing maybe, or Misty's echoing. I'm not sure.
I have headphones.
It might be Steve.
I'm not
You're echoing just a little bit, but the back and forth and a lot of confusion that was even coming out of some respected journalists of the fact of whether he was medically denied the ability to go to his own trial or whether he requested because he was medically unable to go to his own trial.
They wouldn't allow him to appear in person. And so he was participating via video link, which he cannot hear. He cannot participate. He can't converse with his legal team. So what's the point? And he's not feeling well. So he just said, forget it. I'm just not going to go, because what's the point? He's not there in person. He can't talk to his legal team.
I've seen it both ways, to where he opted out of it, and then there's other people that are arguing, including I think Stella Morrison, that he was denied and that they didn't want him there, and he had to fight to essentially even be able to call in.
Yeah, that's
he wanted to be there in person,
right?
They wouldn't allow.
That's what I said. There's a lot of fucking spaghetti information going on right now, because literally it's secondhand information from the memory of journalists that are going.
To my knowledge, how it went down is he wanted to be there and participate in person. They denied him that opportunity. He isn't feeling well. He was then able to participate via video link, but it's a bullshit process, and he can't really hear. And not only can he not hear really what's happening, he has a difficult time following along with what's happening, especially when it's on video and not in person, because he is in such a poor mental state. He cannot participate. He can't converse with his lawyers or have discussions with his lawyers throughout the process. So it really doesn't make any sense. What's the point? He's just there watching people talk about how he's either mentally unwell or he's not, or he's a liar and a malingerer or he's not. And if he's not feeling well, he chose to just stay in a cell the second day.
Right. And not only just because I know, because the type of people I hang out with, Steve, malingering isn't just a Victorian term. It's also heavily used in the military and the CIA and everything for soldiers that pretend to be injured so they don't have to participate in their duties. So the fact that a lawyer is using malingering kind of gives you a little hint of where that argument is getting fed to them from.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, this is the CIA versus Julian Assange, essentially.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that was the other thing I wanted to bring up, kind of to close out all of this, and then we'll actually close out on it before I go into the tragic horror story that has been the last 6 months of my life and what's going on. The current physical and mental state of Assange, because I have been, every single time I finally get someone important to tweet out about Assange, the first thing I do is link those 2 tweet threads from journalists that were in there that said that the dude looked like a fucking ghost and was on the edge of death.
It's
hard. It's like, holy fuck.
It breaks me, dude. It
And I
breaks
saw that
me.
I saw that picture too, and the guy's arm is like literally like I'm a skinny motherfucker, and his arm was
Well,
like
he's
half
always
of my
been
arm.
very thin, but if you look at the two pictures, Randy Credico posted both of them side by side, and I think one's from September and then one is from yesterday. There's a very distinct difference in the way that he looks. He is much more gaunt. He's very pale, which he's again always been a pale dude too. But it's a noticeable difference.
He's
He is
fucking
noticeably
transparent now.
yes, he is noticeably unwell. Like it is a very obvious, and this is not. I mean, Stella spoke about it a few days ago before she went to visit him. I think it was on Saturday before the march that they did in London. And she said he is not well. He's not doing well at all. We are watching murder in slow motion.
The difference between September of 2020 and October of 2021 is the stress of him being placed in the COVID wing. Right, when all of that shit went down after a winter in which he wasn't allowed his warm clothes, going into one of the hotter summers on record in London, going into what there was the fact that he won his extradition,
then was denied bail,
stayed in prison, and then
can't see his family
the
because
US
of COVID.
only got a limited appeal, and then they challenged that and won it. This has already been 10 months, damn near a week from when he was supposed to have walked out. The order that Baratzer read off said that he was to be released.
Yeah.
And then Almo opened his fucking mouth and said, we'll give him asylum. And they 24 hours later said, well, if there's a country offering him asylum, we obviously can't bail him because then he'll just go there.
He's
and then
a flight
we'll go.
risk. Yeah. It's fucked. I mean, this is a dude who's been subjected to a decade of psychological torture. And the past 2.5 years, that has been escalated to an extreme degree. Being in the Ecuadorian embassy and being isolated in that way was one thing. Being spied on, all of that stuff, that's all very, psychologically damaging. But now he is in essentially solitary confinement. And he is, because of COVID restrictions, there were months that he wasn't able to see his partner or see his children. There were months that he was not able to, he could visit with his kids, but he couldn't touch them. He's there again without charge, and it's like this limbo. He has no idea what's going to happen, and there's very little hope. I mean, there's like this little glimmer, so that's what he's holding on to. But I can't, I try to put, and then to add to it that he's autistic, y'all. I mean, that part, okay, because I didn't know when I found out he was autistic. I didn't know. It's kind of obvious. I wasn't super surprised, but when I learned it was a legitimate thing, I cannot imagine. I can't imagine. I mean, again, all people with autism are different and they all deal with it in different ways, but to deal with the sensory issues of being in a prison as an autistic, y'all, it's too much. It's too much.
Like I said, because for a lot of people that don't know, I'm high functioning Asperger's, and I spent 24 hours in jail, and just the noises and shit like that drove me fucking insane.
My kid can't handle the fluorescent lights at the grocery store because they hum a little.
People look at me.
I get freaked out by that. To be perfectly honest, the humming of the fluorescent light. The first time that I played Capture the Flag on acid at the Walmart in Anderson, Indiana, when I was 17, dude. You would take it was a super Walmart, and you took a box of Cinnamon Life and a box of regular Life, and that was the flag, and you went into different ends of the Walmart and you hit it, and then you played Capture the Flag. So much fun. But the humming of the fluorescent lights, I haven't been able to not hear them ever since, and it drives me nuts. I can't be in a room with them on, dude. It's just
this will be like the fifth tease to what we're about to discuss in a couple of minutes. But my job used to be grocery delivery out of Meijer and out of Target and stuff like that, and I got let go from that. But because like I said, high functioning Asperger's and everything like that. I had to wear sunglasses and headphones to exist at my job. And if I ever forgot my headphones one day, I would go home because the shit would fuck with me so much. But that's the thing. And Scott Horton made the comment of I don't know if they decided to give him the weird chili this morning and make him fucking sick or something. That's not off the table.
No, it's not off the table.
They're obviously like I said, like there's obvious mental torture. Like you just
There's
listed
been
all of
rumors that he's
but-
been medicated, heavily medicated while he's been in prison. I don't know that that's ever been substantiated, but there's been
The
talk.
whole reason
But he can't see his fucking
the
doctor, so
whole
who knows?
reason that he had a fucked up jaw is because when
They put shit in
he
his food.
spent some time in a British jail in 2010 before he had to go on house arrest and all that shit, before he applied for asylum and all that. The very first time that he got locked up, they were putting metal shavings in his food. He cracked a fucking molar,
Yeah. Y'all, these are
pierced
the
his
people
gum
who,
and
like,
shit like
they
that.
had
And do you
plans
think
drawn
those were
up.
clean metal shavings they
No,
were
of course
putting
not.
in his food?
Of
No.
course not. Yeah. These are people. These are the people who like had plans drawn up on ways that they could assassinate him and get away with it.
Well, that was
And
the
they
whole
wanna
basis of
extradite him
the
to-
Yahoo article.
Yeah.
And this is a very important point because it shows you the depths of depravity that the U.S. government is willing to sink to destroy a journalist and publisher. The argument wasn't whether or not they could murder him. It was, is there any way we can do it to where when it happens, we can show a sort of legal loophole that allowed us to extrajudiciously murder him? And then, if you guys remember, in 2019, there were a couple of laws that were quietly passed that gave the CIA more immunity and gave CIA employees more immunity in the press, and also gave them more immunity for extrajudicial killings in foreign countries. This is the exact same time the UK is passing those laws that make it so even like the freaking meat inspector is allowed to kidnap and torture and murder somebody, as long as it falls under the umbrella of national security. If you're a federal employee, you have a license to kill. This is what the Five Eyes have been doing while Julian Assange has been off the table, because hardly anyone else is fucking brave enough to talk about it. And the very few who are get fucking as fucked with as humanly possible.
Yep. And yeah, that's definitely, we're about to go into that. I just posted because a whole bunch of people, I kept hinting at this announcement. But before we get into kind of my announcement and everything that's going on, and then you guys can leave if you want. You can hang out if you want. It's up to you. Just kind of like quick fucking 2-minute, whatever sort of summary message and what, not only what you want out of people, but what you want people to do about this, and specifically how they can go about it, and how we can keep this fight going. And actually, I'll be even more of kind of a dickhead about it. More than keep this fight going, get this fight fucking started. Because like, goddamn, people. So yeah, if you want
It's
to go
kind of
first,
insulting though, because we've been doing it, Magnus.
No,
Fuck you, dude. We started that shit a long time ago.
No, you're right. You're right. But all these other motherfuckers are like 5 years behind.
I get it.
Like 5 years
Look,
behind.
There wasn't a U.S. based Assange on the ground activism organization until Action for Assange got together in 2019.
Because yeah,
There
like I
are
said,
now-
I started activism as this mask right here, organizing the Million Mask March in Detroit. Like that was my first things I did. That
Oh,
shit
yeah.
died, and I
Yeah.
never heard of y'all until Jimmy Dore. Never even knew you fucking existed because nobody talks about it. Like I would have been fucking flooding your
And
guys'
we had
DMs in like
we had
2017.
amazing interviews with some of like the best journalists and like highest fucking profile
John
people
Kiriakou,
in
Ray
the Assange
Chavez.
community.
Yeah.
We had fucking legends on this show, and yeah, dude, it was so surprised. Julian's name's in the title.
Yeah,
of
it's
the show
incredible.
and the
Action for
organization.
Assange is maybe the most suppressed show on YouTube.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
literally.
with the possible exception of like mine and fucking maybe Magnus's and a couple other people. It's like, but it's all anybody who's talking about that is just buried in that YouTube algorithm. And at least like I got lucky in that the show was on Rockfin, got on before the Rona bullshit. I didn't take it seriously until like November of last year. Started to do that. John McAfee maybe died in a Spanish jail. Maybe he's out there pirate yachting it up with a brand new face on a brand new pirate yacht. Hope you are, brother. Hope you are.
Go, brother.
But after that happened, the interview that I did with him, when he was still on the run from the boat, sort of recirculated, and then we're like, now we're so dead on YouTube that everything about our numbers on Rockfin are higher. We get more views on Rockfin than we do on YouTube now. That should not happen.
Right. But anyways, to the original question though,
Sorry.
like, yeah, give me your 2-minute spiel of what people need to be doing and how we can get this fucking moving. And, you know, I kind of my version of it, which I can say in 5 seconds, is very similar to what I said on the End the Damn Wars 12-hour stream of literally just do what I did today. Every day, pick someone who's fucking important and tag them and be like, hey, Julian Assange. Fuck it. I don't care if they're a World of Warcraft video game live streamer on fucking Twitter.
Dude, I went after MC Hammer the other day. I don't give a fuck. I'll talk to whoever. I don't care. I don't care. That's exactly what we need too. Like, that's my spiel. That is exactly my spiel.
Because I got a fucking OnlyFans girl that had like 100,000 followers to retweet End the Damn Wars, because I just, you know, one of my horny followers retweeted something and I was just like, fuck it. And I tagged them and I'm like, hey, End the Damn Wars. And they retweeted it. That's what I would say. But
yeah, I got Eliza Blue to talk about Julian Assange. I got Ryan Knight. So Steve will know what I'm talking about. So I have been taking the win for Ryan Knight covering Julian Assange. So I was just on his show recently, and he confirmed that it was in fact me. It was in fact me. So that's a real win. That's a real win. I didn't just make it up.
Let's go. But yeah.
So yeah, that's what we need. We need, like, especially contact content creators, people who have large platforms, especially. It doesn't matter though. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have 100 subscribers. If you want to talk about Julian Assange, I will hype your fucking show. I will come on your show. I don't care if you have 5 subscribers. I will come on your show. I will talk about Julian Assange. I know Steve will too. We will get you somebody else to talk to, whatever. But we need people, content creators with large platforms, Twitter people with large platforms. If you have a platform, we need you to use it. Now is the fucking time. We have like a very brief window of maybe 6 weeks, who knows how long they'll drag it out, where Steve and I have been saying this for years, since we started Action for Assange. We need mass public pressure. The courts are not going to do the right thing unless they are forced to fucking do it, and the only way to force them to do it is mass public pressure. We have to make it politically untenable for them to extradite Julian Assange. We have to make it clear that there will be a cost for them to pay if they extradite Julian Assange. We need people to get loud. We need people to get very loud, very, 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 very loud, like me on Twitter. That kind of loud. We need that. So yeah, I mean, you can make phone calls to politicians if you want to. It's very easy and quick to do. So if you want to do that, great. Call the DOJ, call the White House. It literally takes 3 minutes. I don't know how effective it is, but it is something that you can do, and it's something that almost everybody can do, and it's very easy to do. If you want to write emails, if you want to, there's lots of Action for Assange, actionforassange.com. You can go in there. There's a shit ton of actions that you can get involved with. Andrew did a great job of compiling like a whole bunch of calls to action. Hold protests, get a Sharpie and a poster board, go stand on a sidewalk somewhere. Free Assange. We need to just get the word out. But like Magnus said earlier, a lot of people don't even know what's happening. They don't know about Julian Assange. When most people hear what's happening to Julian Assange, it's very easy to convert them to a supporter. So that's what we need. We need people to spread information, combat the disinformation. I understand that it's a very complex case. It can be overwhelming. And so a lot of people, I think that's why a lot of people don't get involved, because they feel like they have to be an expert. Derek Hamilton recently said that on Twitter, like, I would love to come speak at your event, but I don't know anything. Like, I'm not an expert. You don't have to be an expert, you guys. You really do not. There's a ton of amazing resources out there.
This
that
is
you can
wrong.
Visit.
Why?
Yes,
because it is.
Because it's wrong.
Get off stage.
But again, I'm happy. Like, if somebody comes at you with a talking point that you don't know how to like combat, come talk to me. I will 100. I'm always willing to help with that. Always, anytime. So that's, I mean, seriously, we just need as much noise as humanly possible in the next however many weeks that we have left before this decision comes down.
Yeah, I know, definitely humanity down here. The WikiLeaks dragnet thing, that's what Panquake and Kimber and a lot of people in the Assange movement just dropped. That's really huge. That's like it's not some like Vault 7 level shit, but damn, is it close, and it's important, and it more importantly than anything, you can use that more than anything. You can easily explain to people how the NSA bullshit works, like visually with graphs broken down in a way that any fucking idiot can understand. It's really great. Check that out. I've been tweeting it out 100%. But then, Steve, you're up next. By the way, Misty, check the chat.
I agree with everything that you guys have laid out. I would only add to that. It is important for you to be able to like broad strokes this. There's a number of different ways that you can do that. Action for Assange put out a couple of different like teach-in mini documentaries that sum up what was going on really well. What I would like to see, what I think could happen, is that anywhere you go, you find a way to work it into one of your regular conversations. City council meetings have a public comment portion, all of them. It's generally from 1 to 3 minutes. You can say whatever you want. If you wanted to, you could plug your show for like 30 seconds and then go on a 2.5-minute tirade about Julian Assange, or a 30-second tirade, or a 1-minute tirade. But you can write this stuff out. The things that you want to convey, you can time yourself and you can figure out what to add or what you can lose depending on the time limit. But this is available to every single citizen or human in the United States. You can do this. Every single public, like city council, school board, anything like that, there's a public comment period. Use it. Take advantage of it. Hit up like local radio or whatever. When you super chat your favorite content creators, if you can, when you throw a suit, whatever, like by that, remind them, hey, Julian Assange is doing this thing. I think it was Kim. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Kimber. That fucking was the reason that Anna Kasparian ended up getting dragged so hard back in September for her non-coverage and her shitty coverage, because Kimber spent money she didn't have on a super chat to call out TYT on their own show. Glory Jones is the same thing to Tim Black.
You have this power. It's you can do this crazy shit. If you can, trust me.
99 cents on a super chat, $2 on a super chat, something like that, dude. $2 over on Rockfin to like, force the issue.
Like I said, there's people that cover movies. There's people that cover video games. There's people that cover sports. That
Be creative.
That read every single super chat. So go in there, fucking 99 cents. Free Assange, look at the Assange case. And they might be like, well, that has nothing to do with my show. But guess what? 100,000 people might have saw that super chat.
And one of them might go look into it.
The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act has touched the lives of almost anyone that has a show on YouTube in some way, shape, or form.
That's
or
hard to
on
convey in
Twitch.
a super chat, though. A lot of people don't know that.
Right. And you can do devious things like I just did, where you announce on Twitter that you're leaving the internet for the next year, but then for 15 minutes make people listen to everything we just said to wait to hear my story. That's what you can do. But yeah, so part 4, if you guys let me know now if you guys want to leave. If not, you can
I'm actually going to go because I need to get my kids going to bed. Mom
I
stuff,
have to
mom
take
duties.
my kids to dinner, but I can hang out for like 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
I have mom duties, so
it's okay. So plug your stuff, Misty, really quick.
Oh yeah, I'm Misty. You can find me on Twitter at Sarcasm Stardust. I'm co-host of the Action for Assange Vigils. We'll be on tomorrow. It's our Halloween episode. We'll be dressed up and having fun, and I'll be bitching some more about the Julian Assange case. And then I also have Facts on the Ground with Jesse Zerwell. And then I have Bitch with Comrade Misty every Wednesday at 7. This week I'm going to have Krish Mohan on, and I'm really excited to have Krish on. Krish is my friend. So yeah, check me out there. And thanks for having me on, Magnus, and for talking about Julian Assange, and for getting people on Twitter to tweet about it today. You're a rock star. That's amazing.
Know you, and yeah, love you. Misty's great. Follow her. She's spectacular.
Thanks. Bye guys.
Rad.
Yeah. Yeah. So until Steve has to leave, I will break down my announcement. So yeah, just like I posted on Twitter, right now, I'll explain what I'm going to do, and then I'll explain why, just for people to know. I am stepping down from End the Damn Wars. I am going to wrap up this podcast more than likely, and I'm not going to participate in any form of activism for the indefinite future. I'm hanging that up as well, and I currently don't know how much I'll be able to participate in Twitter or tune into other people's streams or anything. We'll see. But yeah, I'm for the indefinite future until I can figure this out, because I'm not going to go away forever. I don't want to go away forever, but I've hit a point in my life and in my finances and at a level of targeting by the CIA and the FBI that I cannot function as a human being anymore. And I'll go through every kind of detail, I guess, in order of sort of what's happened. So in June, essentially what started happening is my internet started randomly going out for no reason. I contacted Comcast. I contacted everyone I could. I got a new router. I tried to fix everything. It's gotten increasingly worse till now. And then obviously, this is a little before that, but a lot of you know, I got doxxed by the Washington Post. The lead editor of the Washington Post called my grandmother and harassed my family for information about me. And then they released an article about me, essentially saying that I'm part of an organization that is the KKK on steroids, that I'm a dangerous far-right extremist that's trying to destroy the country and a bunch of other shit. And that will be important later. And then we flash forward to the end the damn war stuff. So at that point, like I said, I was working for a grocery delivery company, and they started messing with my cell phone signal to where literally I can go to this day, I can go to the Meijer I used to work out of, and I can go to my house. And if I step 1 foot, literally, I've tried this, like actually 1 foot off of the property, I'll have 5 bars of service. But if I step back onto either my property or my work's property, I have no signal, which for the company I worked for is very similar to DoorDash, to where you have to get orders sent to you. So not having any signal in front of the building you're working at kind of starts fucking with your money. So that's when I released the first video saying I might have to give all this up. I'm kind of fucked, whatever. And thankfully, a lot of people jumped in to kind of pad the lost income through Patreon and stuff like that. So that helped. But then a month ago now, my job randomly let me go with no explanation, nothing. They just turned me off. They're not required to give you an explanation or anything like that. And that was 2 days after I went to the hospital for kidney stones, of which when I was in the hospital, I handed my wallet to a nurse. She put it in a little, like one of those little fucking puke containers, and walked off with my wallet. I then, got fucking dosed up with tramadol and all sorts of shit and was all fucked up and got in my car and started driving home. About halfway home, I realized I didn't have my wallet, and I called the hospital and I'm like, hey, my wallet's probably going to be in the lost and found. Can I get that? Whatever. And they're like, sure, we'll look for it. They don't have my wallet. Mysteriously, it disappeared. So I didn't have an ID, I didn't have my work card, and I didn't have a debit card. And within a couple days after that, I got let go from my job. So we fast forward to, I go into my bank and I apply for a new debit card. I go to the Secretary of State. I apply for a new driver's license. I apply for a new new work card and all sorts of stuff. I apply for a new DoorDash card. Because I do DoorDash on the side to pad income and all that. None of that's come at all. And also another detail is over the last 3-4 months, I don't get any packages. People have like followers have tried to send me patches or shirts or like gun parts or anything like that. They almost always get bounced back after like a month. I've even tried to order from Amazon, and Amazon, I'll do like 24-hour delivery and they'll say your package is lost. My debit card hasn't showed up. My ID hasn't showed up. I've applied for a new debit card twice. I've applied for a new ID twice, paid the money for both times to replace it. It hasn't shown up. If I ever do get mail, it's after trying to track it down and fuck with it constantly. So they're obviously fucking with my mail. So that brings us to about 2 weeks ago. So I'm in like total panic mode. I'm unemployed. I'm trying to fix this. I'm trying to search for a job, whatever the hell is going down. I launched the t-shirt store because the t-shirts are probably the only thing that have kept me alive over the last month. And between my website that I launched 2 weeks ago and Teespring, I made about $700, which was to guarantee that I don't get evicted in a couple days. Wix, the website, the host that I made my website through, will not release the money to me. Teespring will not release my money to me. Cash App has decided not to release their money to me, and PayPal has frozen my account. So essentially the only thing that was keeping me alive was that and the food bank that I go to. So my physical health has been getting increasingly fucked because I've been able to eat nothing for the last month besides super processed fucking food and shit from the food bank. I literally have instant oatmeal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for like the last week. and I can't sleep or anything, and everything's been all fucked up. And that's the point where the FBI knocked on my door and they told me to my face that they're watching my Twitter account, that they know where I live, and they told all that to my face. And that happened live on a podcast, and I recorded that, so nobody can tell me I was fucking lying about that. Go fuck yourself, shitlibs. And yeah, so that leads us to 2 weeks ago. So I start applying to normie jobs, literally anything. Walmart, Tim Hortons, fucking McDonald's, doesn't matter. Going into places that are covered, every single window on the building, hiring now, start now, $15 an hour, desperate for people, don't care. I apply to these jobs and they don't call me back. They don't do anything. I go into Tim Hortons. I think it was 3 days ago. I might be mixing up my timeline, but I went to him a couple days ago and I'm like, hey, I put in an application. You guys are hiring, say you're hiring immediately, and I haven't heard a call back from you. What's going on? And they told me to my face that the position I applied for is not available anymore. Even though the day, because I used to go to this Tim Hortons a lot. It was like a week or so ago that they moved their hours to closing at noon because they didn't have enough staff to stay open anymore. And then they told me to my face that they can't hire me. So obviously either that's the FBI doing something, that's some kind of thing they might have put on my background check, or the simple fact that if you Google my legal name, the first thing that comes up is the Washington Post article. So what's today's date? Today's date is the 28th. I have 4 days before I'm evicted from this apartment. And then I have to probably move in with my dad, who does not live in an area that has good internet or good cell phone service or anything, and work for my dad's construction company, which means I will be putting in a lot of hours in a place with no service or no signal. So I'm not going to be able to run the podcast. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to be on Twitter. And I will be several hours away from the nearest airport or major city where any kind of events are going on. So the TLDR is the government has won. They've effectively destroyed my life. I can't get a job. I can't get food. I can't get a debit card. I can't get a license. I can't do anything. My internet's fucked with constantly. My mail's fucked with constantly. And I'm kind of, it is what it is. That's where we're at, people. Thank you for sitting silent through all of that, Steve.
Well, I mean, I think I interrupted like 4 or 5 times when you were talking about it on Tuesday. So I did. In case, anyone is wondering, Magnus did let us know some of this after the show, I think.
Yeah.
I think so. But fuck, dude, and the only thing that comes to mind other than holy fuck, that's horrific, and which one of us is next, is that my friend Keith McHenry from Food Not Bombs has been unemployable by federal mandate since 2001 or 2002. Food Not Bombs was declared a domestic terrorist organization in 1988.
Yes, an anti-war charity was labeled a domestic terrorist organization.
Their only thing is feeding homeless people.
No activism, no nothing. They feed homeless people. They're fucking on domestic terror watch lists.
Keith has managed to survive for 20 years by a handful of creative ways, and one of them is book sales. He's written 5 books. Food Not Bombs itself takes donations, and part of that, through a very roundabout way, eventually, more than likely, because I honestly can't say or don't know whether or not, but
I probably wouldn't say if you did know.
I mean, Keith cooks every day, so he's not missing any meals. He did Food Not Bombs that's his organization. But I would suggest to you, Magnus, that you talk to the people at Food Not Bombs in Detroit before all of this goes down, because that may be a whole fucking world that you can have as an avenue to explore.
Right. And that's the most important thing, is even though I'm announcing that I'm kind of like giving up, I still have 3 days till I'm out of this place, and then maybe like a month at most, still in the Detroit area, where I'm I'm not giving up. I'm trying literally everything. I've gotten to this point because I've tried literally fucking everything. I'm like, I'll sell
No,
fucking
dude, I
t-shirts.
know.
I'll start
I
a
know.
PayPal. I'll start a podcast. I'll post my fucking Patreon. I've tried everything I could imagine. I'll apply to corporate hellhole jobs that I literally advocate people to not work at. So it's like,
I wish I had more time tonight because we could go off on this for a while, but I do got to split. I got to take my kids to go get some dinner while there's still fucking dinner places open.
Plug your shit, Steve. Before
at Slow Newsday Show for all of the social media and donate links. SlowNewsDayShow.com for the website, rockfin.com/SlowNewsDay for the full shows. I can only do like anywhere from a half an hour to an hour of the show on YouTube, and then I have to switch over to Rockfin for the rest of it. Again, YouTube's basically a dead channel for me. We've been on it for 3 years. They've never let us get over 10K. Every time we've gone past 5, they usually knock us down back to 2 or 3. They've frozen us at 5.8 for the last almost year. Frozen. Over on Rockfin, we've got like triple.
And I mean, like, hell, even on Twitter, they'll do this shit because I have, T for Y, who's followed me since the day I got on Twitter, just said he didn't even know I have a podcast. I post tweets about my podcast probably 3 to 7 times a week. And the amount of times my followers have told me I don't even know you have a podcast is wild, because that means that those tweets that include an image of my podcast, include the word podcast or anything like that, are fucking into the ground.
12,000 followers on Twitter right now. Most of them don't know that I have a show.
Yep.
Most of the people are legit surprised. Oh, really? Okay. Cool.
Yep. But yeah, appreciate you popping in.
I gotta bounce. I love you, brother. I believe that there's a workable solution for you, and we're gonna find it.
Hell yeah, brother. Appreciate it. You have a good one.
All right, man.
But yeah, now it's just me. So I'll just chat with you guys for a while. But I made that whole post about like my whole life of like I was a married middle-class business owner that was crushing it in the art business. And then the lockdown, I got divorced, which sucked, and I lost everything there. And then I lost my business due to the lockdowns. And then I lost my reputation due to protesting the lockdowns, and was targeted by the media extraordinarily, and destroyed my reputation and destroyed tons of relationships, and members of my family won't talk to me anymore because of that. And then the Jimmy Dore thing happened. And, I explored the Patreon. My Patreon almost got shut down. It probably will get shut down. There was a while that it was frozen by the Trust and Safety Council. They've shut down my t-shirt store. They've shut down my Cash App. They've shut down my PayPal. They've gone everything they could possibly do to ruin my life, essentially, short of like actually going after me. And this and it's not just me. This is important because this was a story I wanted to tell on Steve's show. But I think it's very important for people to understand that it's not just me. It's anyone involved with that movement right there, that flag right there. I have a good friend. He goes by Prison, which is really funny because he has no criminal record and he's a fucking sweetheart. He has been extraordinarily targeted over the last week by the FBI just as hard as I have, in the same kind of ways. He was arrested in Ohio for illegally transporting a firearm. He was not illegally transporting a firearm. They fucked with him in the jail. They literally told him to his face that they're looking for some reason to arrest him. And in fact, actually, he sent me his actual like story, and I'll read this right now of what exactly happened to Prison. So this is verbatim from Prison. What happened to him? The date I was pulled over was September 11th, 2021. I went to spend a day with a military veteran friend of mine, and during the day with plans to go shooting, and gave him company and let him know that his brothers and sisters lost in Afghanistan were not in vain. After spending the day together, Sorry. After spending the day together, we decided to spend time together instead of go shooting as planned. I loaded my rifle into a gun bag, and I was led to be in a way that I was led to believe was a legal way of transporting a rifle in the state of Ohio. I was an hour and some minutes away from my home when I decided to stop for food since it was a bit late. I had a truck fly past me before I went to change lanes to a local McDonald's, and that's when OSP turned on their lights. That's Ohio State Police. I figured they were going for the truck that just passed me. When they didn't change back over to pass me and followed me, I immediately stopped. I rolled down my window and proceeded the normal traffic stop protocol. The officer came to my window and asked for license and registration, which I gave, and was alerted to the fact that I had an AR-15 in my back seat, in plain view, unloaded with, once again, what I believe to be transported properly according to state law. I was told by my hometown sheriff they took my information to their vehicle, leaving my rifle in the back seat while running my info. This is the point where they realize who he is and that he's an activist, in my theory. She returned to my driver's window where I was asked to step out of the vehicle. I was asked there was a specific reason to which I was told to make sure I was transported as I said. This person then searched my car, during which I invoked my Fourth Amendment rights against illegal search and seizure of my property. After obtaining my rifle from the back seat, they pulled it from the gun bag, which shows no magazine in the weapon, nor no round in the chamber. After checking it out, they put the rifle in the trunk, and then more local police came. That's when they began searching my vehicle for anything else they could possibly use against me. I was asked questions of where I was coming from, what I was doing, and multiple other questions, followed by a long field sobriety test. After running the serial number on my firearm on my vehicle, they asked me who this rifle belonged to, and that whether I was transporting it correctly. I explained that's how I was told to transport the rifle by my local sheriff to the cop and the Ohio State police officer. When I asked about getting my rifle back, they explained that they were confiscating it because you may have pending felonies. Once again, prison has never been to jail. Prison has no criminal record. Aside from I was handed a torn off piece of paper which read officer's name followed by the number that they said was the Tiffin Municipal Prosecutor, which is the county he got arrested in. I was never issued a receipt for the confiscated rifle. I never received a citation for the reason of the stop, and I was given a verbal warning. I called every day to figure out about my firearm and was given the runaround. This is when I got an attorney. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit in the story here because he did a lot. He was that was the moment where they came back 3 days later and charged him with a misdemeanor. Upon being booked into the Erie County Jail, the sheriff also stated that I had transported the firearm in the exact same way, but I was being extradited into the Seneca County Jail. My charge jumped from a misdemeanor to a felony for improper handling of a firearm in a motor vehicle. Sat 4 days in Seneca County bail before having a bond hearing, which I was told the state wanted a $30,000 cash bond paid in full, no 10%. So he gets bonded out finally because we raised money for him and everything like that. And he's on his way, after 5 days, he's on his way back from Toledo area to where he lives. He was stopped by an unmarked black SUV with no identifiers and no front plate, was demanded to get out of the vehicle, and when he asked why, another individual started going through his vehicle before he could even exit the vehicle. He demanded, get out of my vehicle now. After I exited my vehicle, I asked, why am I being searched? I got the response, we know you have firearms in the vehicle. After explaining I don't have any weapons in the vehicle, they proceeded to try to open my phone and shut off my card. I then asked for an identification card so I knew what agency was pulling me over and so I could give it to my attorney, where I was immediately told after stating that I am good to go, and they hopped back in their vehicle and sped off in the direction I was going. So that's my friends. That's what's going on with John. That's what's going on with prison. That's what's going on with me after everything I described with the FBI showing up at my house. They are cracking down on us in every way. They're throwing us in jail over anything they can find. Thankfully, I've barely even been able to leave the house because I don't have any money for gas. So they've had to resort to actually knock on my door. And I've also have not been leaving my house because it's obvious the level of targeting that they're going after, that they're looking for fucking anything. And God forbid if I'm in the parking lot of a Meijer and they find like a loaded handgun in the back seat of my car that's not mine, that they can arrest me and throw me in a cage over. I put nothing past these people. If this whole podcast about Assange didn't tell you how far these motherfuckers will go to fuck with people, then I don't know what to tell you. So I haven't been able to, the only time I ever leave the house is to go through the drive-through food bank. The only thing I can thank COVID for, because it's contactless and you literally pull up and someone hands it to you through the window and then you leave. So I don't have to leave my car unattended. And I haven't left the house. I haven't gone anywhere. I haven't done anything because they are after us. They are after us hardcore. They're after every kind of activist. It's everything I've been saying the entire year I've been doing this, that they don't discriminate. There's no political boundaries. They don't care who the fuck you are. They don't care what your political agenda is. They don't care if you're a conservative right winger. They don't care if you're a militia dude or an indigenous activist or an environmental activist. They don't give a fuck. If you do something they don't want you to do, they will come after you and they will lay the hammer down and they will get rid of you by any means necessary and any means possible. And what's important to me, before I get into a point, because I'm getting fucking a million DMs right now and it's ridiculous because I do have to address something. What's important to me is when you hear how they've effectively destroyed my life, destroyed my reputation. I've talked about it before that I can't date either gender right now because whenever I match with someone on Tinder or I go on a date with someone, they Google my name and see what's said about me and they're immediately uninterested. So my love life's ruined. My family life's ruined. My ability to ever see my child is ruined because I've been told straight to my face that if I ever sue for custody, they'll just show them the Washington Post article and I'll never get it, which is 100% true. My job's ruined. My health's ruined. My employment's ruined. Like everything's fucked. They've won when it comes to me. But while I say that, I do not want that to discourage people. I want that to do the opposite. I want you to see just how evil these motherfuckers are, just how much power these motherfuckers are. And I do not want you to be afraid. I want you to get moving and I want you to start doing shit because I am a nobody. I'm a broke fucking nerd from Northern Michigan that went and stood in front of a building at an opportune time and read a generic ass speech I wrote the night before off my phone. And everything I have accomplished, anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. Anyone has the power to do this. Misty is just some girl from Ohio. Steve's just some person from fucking Chicago. Andrew's literally just a dad who goes around with a sign and fucking he's popular. All of us have accomplished so much being nobodies. And that's the message I want because I don't want people to hear everything that's happened to me and feel discouraged. I want them angry. You should not be defeated. You should be mad. And I want that to be the message of this. And to a bunch of people that have messaged me being like, how much money you need, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm going to keep it 100% real with people. I have essentially only been kept alive through the generosity of other people since June. I have not made enough money. I need $2,000 a month to pay all my bills and not go to jail for child support every single month to live. And the only way I've managed to do that since June is because people occasionally give me Cash App money, because people subscribe to PayPal, people buy shirts, stuff like that. So I for almost 6 months now, for 6 months now almost, I have been only kept alive by the generosity of others. I could easily e-beg and have people like find some way to give me money to where I could pay my rent and I could keep doing this for 1 more month, maybe 2 more months. But I only have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and I have 6,000 followers on Twitter. You guys do not have the means to keep me alive. And I, as a sense of honor and guilt and just how I feel in general, I cannot ask you to keep throwing your money at me so I can do this. I can't. You can offer it all you want, and plenty of you have. Plenty of you given me so much fucking money that I do not feel like I'm obligated to or honored to at all. And I'm really appreciative of that. Don't get me wrong at all. But I cannot, without some form of stable income, I mentally and physically and emotionally cannot keep doing this. And like I said, my DMs right now, I literally looked at my phone for half a second and I have like 13 people being like, how much money you need? How much money you need? I can't ask that anymore. If y'all could find a job, maybe maybe that can make it, but it's unlikely because I don't have a government ID. I probably will not be able to get a government ID, and I can't travel really. So yeah, like if you I was really excited for the FPC thing because they tagged me in that job offer, and getting a job at FPC and be able to work from home, that would have saved me. But that I haven't heard anything from them, and I'm assuming that's not happening. And the t-shirt thing, for just like a moment, looked like that might have been able to keep me going, but they killed that like instantly. They're like, nope, fuck your shirts. So I don't have anything. And the Patreon is going to be gone any other day because, like I said, they already locked it for like a month to be looked at by Trust and Safety because my gaggle of totally not FBI agent shithole asshole fucking people on Twitter that doxed me and my mom. Oh yeah, that's one thing I forgot to add. They've doxed my mother and harassed my mother and fucked with my mother and my ex-wife. So yeah, those people are probably just mass reporting my Patreon like every fucking day. So that's going to be gone soon. So I'm up for solutions. You know, I love solutions. If you can give me something that'll work. But like I said, I'm not quitting, but I'm just letting people know publicly and vocally that this is like 50 seconds left in the fucking fourth quarter of a football game. And I'm getting everyone's expectations now that it's probably not going to work out. They probably won in this case. And it doesn't mean I'll be gone forever. Like I'll go work at my dad's, I'll go save money up, and the whole time I'll keep looking for options. But for at least 3 months to half a year, I'm gonna have to dip set for a while. It is what it is. And I see you in there. Like my website's fine. It has nothing to do with the website. It's the payment processors. All the payment processors have gone after me. Venmo right now is the only cash kind of anything that is open to me. My Cash App is shut down. Well, it's open, but they won't let me pull money from it for some reason. I have no idea. I've been emailing their support forever to figure out what the fuck's going on. I have no idea. PayPal, Cash App, Facebook, obviously Pay is gone. Like I can't log into my Coinbase account randomly. So I can't even accept crypto from Coinbase. You know, it's hard not to be conspiratorial about this. And yeah, exactly. Payment processors control everything. That is the final boss of cancel culture, is if the payment processors decide to fuck you over, you're just done. And that's where I'm at right now. So like, and that's the other thing is people are like, how can I get you money? How can I blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, dude, all of the ways you could give me money, there's a fucking 9 out of 10 chance that your money will be sitting in there. Cause Sky Daddy, she sent me money. Colette in the chat, she sent me money. Like people sent me money, and guess what? That money is sitting in an account that I cannot access. So I don't know what to tell you. Everyone who bought a shirt, thank you so much for buying a shirt. You're all fucking awesome. I hope those shirts look awesome, and I love that you're wearing them around. I haven't seen a fucking penny of any of that money, and I'm probably never going to. That's the problem there. I would love to use old school mail, but they fuck with my mail. I don't get anything. I do not get letters. I do not get packages. I do not get government mail. I do not get anything. And I've tried this as well. I've tried to have mail sent to my parents' house. I've tried to have mail sent to friends' house, and it never shows up. Never shows up. Yes, Colette, Venmo went through. But everything else is not. Venmo is the last stand. But just the fact that I'm talking about Venmo being open right now probably means that within like 48 hours, I'll get a notification that like your card has been declined. Please contact support or some other bullshit like PayPal or something that's done to me. It is what it is, folks. It's been fun. It's been really fun. And I do feel like I've accomplished a lot. I do feel like I've gotten a lot of people from the left to talk together and to organize and to follow each other and have each other on these shows and cross-pollinate these movements. I'm very proud of what I've done. And even more importantly, I'm very proud of everyone who follows me because I've seen people's perspectives like radically change from being these culture warriors to paying attention to things that are really going on and not being so knee-jerk averts to the other side because the other side doesn't exist. It's the people versus these fucking monsters that are ruining my life. And I'm so proud of everyone, and I'm so proud of everything I've done. And it doesn't want to take away from any of that. And I don't want to give it up at all. But I'm just looking at the fact that, like, I haven't left the house in a month. I haven't eaten real food in a month. I haven't been able to go anywhere in a month. I can't see my family or anything because I'm worried that if I go to them or something, something's going to happen. I have to talk to my mother while she shows me pictures that they fucking hacked from her of her and her my fucking stepdad that they're making movie posters and shit out of. Like it's been fucking wild, dude. I literally just talked about that. I can't log into my Coinbase account. And when I try to change my email to get into my Coinbase, the email never shows up in my Gmail. And I know the password's right because I literally have it written on a fucking piece of paper. And it has not changed in forever. But my Coinbase is not allowing me to log into Coinbase. Which that has like $200 worth of crypto in it that I just can't access anymore. So I don't know what the fuck's going on with that either. Yep. And again, she fucking homegirl right here is perfect because everything that I'm saying that sounds crazy, there's people that have gone through this and way worse than this. This might sound wild, but there's plenty of people you can talk to that have woken up to their brakes being cut on their fucking car multiple times in a row. Going to the mechanic and be like, how'd your brakes get cut for the 5th time in a row? There's people that have had people stalking around in their fucking garage in the middle of the night, going through their trash, like all sorts of shit, dude. This is just fucking. I can try, but I just don't fucking. They got my shit on lock, dude. They know who I am. They know what they do. They know everything about me. And not to mention, who knows how much physical details they have because somebody broke into my fucking house on a anonymous, welfare check and did something in my house. Who fucking knows? Who fucking knows? Yep. Exactly. They fuck with us. They fuck with us all the time. That's why I told that story about prison, because it's not like, oh, Magnus is just like, he thinks he's so important. No, dude, they're doing it to all sorts of people. Go talk to some legit BLM activists in Louisville and tell them the wild experiences they've had with their cards suddenly not working, their banks not letting them get money out, their cars being fucked with, their jobs randomly firing them not getting fucking mail. Like this is their playbook. This is what they do. I'm just finally experiencing it. That's all. Exactly. So yeah, that's just the news. I don't really know what else to say. I'll hang out for a while because people have probably got like questions and shit like that. But yeah, dude. Oh yeah, Steve said he could hop back in a minute. Sweet. See, I obviously I don't have anything to fucking do because I'm unemployed, which is why I don't sleep till 6 a.m. because I'm worried they're gonna kick my door in any moment because they're doing that to my friends of mine that aren't nearly as public, that aren't nearly as influential or don't have a platform and have never hurt anybody and never said anything, and they're getting fucked with. This is the Biden administration. They told you to your face. They released that article and they had that thing that included Black Panthers, that included Anonymous, that included Proud Boys and Boogaloo and everyone, and said these are domestic terror threats and we're going to go after you. And it wasn't hot air and it wasn't a lie. They're going after people. They're fucking with people. And like I said, I posted. I mean, if they had one, I'll take it. Like I said, if anybody like any kind of work from home thing, I can kind of write. I'm probably not the best writer in the world. I can do things. It's just that essentially you have to be a legit leftist or a libertarian to employ me, because I do not blame any of these employers because they don't know me. They've never talked to me. They don't know my side of the story. But if you are a fucking manager for McDonald's and you look at Zachary Clark, which is my real name, and you look at my application, you get my social security number and everything, and then like every employer will, you jump onto Google and you type in my name, and the first article you see is member of a white nationalist anti-lockdown armed movement, I probably wouldn't hire myself either. It is what it is. It is what it is. And I'm obviously suppressed on YouTube. Rockfin won't even bring me on. I've tried. I've literally had every single person that's worth a fuck on Rockfin try to talk to Rockfin to get me on. They don't want me on. Again, I don't blame them. I don't blame anybody for not wanting to work with me because I understand my reputation. So it is what it is. Yep. And that's the other thing too, is people are like, oh, you can move or whatever. It's like, not really. Like maybe we could fucking hash out a plan or whatever, but like the amount of working parts we're gonna have to get into, to make this happen, I don't count on it. Sorry, my fucking microphone's in the way, so I can really see these. Looks like pop these up. Yeah, exactly. You're T4Y. You're exactly. That's why I'm going to work for my dad, because it's not my dad's company, but he's worked there for long enough that essentially it's my dad's company, and I can do whatever the fuck I want at it. And they know me, and they don't give a shit, and they'll hire me, and they'll pay me enough to not fucking starve, But that's my option, because I've had other people be like, "Yo, bro, I can put in a word for you at my company," and I'm like, "Will they require me to fill out a W-2 and present a driver's license? Because if that's a requirement to work at the company that you're offering to give me work at, then I can't do it because I cannot get a driver's license. I've tried everything I could to get a driver's license. They're not giving me a driver's license. So if you got someone who will hire me under the table and is cool with my politics and is cool with the possibility of the FBI showing up at their fucking company like every other week, because that's what I fucking deal with here, then sure. If you got that. But a lot of people are just like, yeah, bro, I can help you. And then I lay out the details and they're like, I'm not sure. Because I have a local friend that offered me a job here. And he's like, yo, dude, you can work for my company, blah, blah, blah. It's not his company, but the company he works for. And I'm like, okay, will they require me to hand over a government ID? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do then? Because my temporary ID they gave me when I paid for my debit card has expired before my fucking ID has showed up. My temporary debit card they gave me has expired before my debit card showed up. Sorry, I'm sweating fucking buckets because, yeah. It is what it is. Fucking bad lad. Hi, there's prison. Everyone wish him luck in the FBI fucking with him and harassing him. I've had a subscribe star for like longer than I've had a Patreon, because I'm actually technically not even allowed to have a Patreon. It's I same way I have an Instagram. I kind of did a thing that I won't explain how I did it to get around the fact that I'm perma banned off those websites. I've had a subscribe star forever, but that's just the thing though, is like I've gotten to a point mentally where I need a consistent, stable solution, because there's many things that could keep me going for a month, that could keep me going for 2 months, but there's no guarantee that it'll not be ripped out from underneath me without a moment's notice and then put me into a situation where I'm fucked and I have to beg my broke ass fucking mother or my broke ass dad or fucking people on Twitter for money to be able to feed myself or not go to jail. And I've done that for half a year. And I don't want to do it anymore. So many people, I thank you so much for offering temporary solutions. People are saying, I'll pay your bills right now. That's great. But I'm not taking any Band-Aids. I need a permanent or at least longer lasting solution, because I've tried wearing so many hats and they've all blown up in my fucking face. So I'm over it. And there's definitely a mental health requirement in this. I laugh and I smile a lot and I joke around a lot, but I'm not in a good place right now. I'm really not in a good place right now with everything that's going on. And yeah, and it's not it's not any better that, like, I've said it before. I've made it perfectly clear that after I lost my business and I got divorced and I was living in a shitty place or whatever, motherfucker Steve Poikinen's back. But yeah, I've made it clear before that, like, after I got divorced and after I lost my business, I lost my car, I lost my house. I went from like a happy middle class lifestyle to like being back to the trailer park kid that I was born and raised in, and everything went to hell and lockdowns and shit. That the only thing that kept me going was all of this. And a lot of you, knowing this, you can go back and watch the Jimmy Dore interview or watch the Liberty Lockdown interview, which was the first time I ever gave a podcast, and compare it to how you know me now and how videos you've seen of me now and everything. I was clearly fucking depressed. I was clearly at the end of my fucking rope, whatever. And all of this and all of y'all and all the support that I've received from Steve and Misty and the Convo Couch and Jimmy Dore and all the Libertarian Party, that's what kept me alive. So it's not easy to put all of this up, but I also know that if I keep going the way I am now, it's not going to be great. So yeah, it is what it is.
I'm gonna try to be an emotional support anarchist, I guess. I don't know. Look, man, for a little while we did a call-in show, right? And it was called Get Your Shit Together. And the funny thing about that is I was like in a full fucking mental health crisis the entire time we were doing that show. It's been a wild 5 years, but the last 10 months in particular, 11 months in particular, like from the time that we were in DC for the extradition hearing right before the insurrection, and the obviously, like, I don't know about obviously, but I've never been on the ground for a false flag before. I've been on the ground for some hectic shit. You know, I was at the WTO protests. It was the first place I ever got my head split open by a cop. It's supposed to be a deterrent from activism. It's what I do, like, I'm more or less full time now, you know. But the price for that, in a hotel room with my kids, you know, right? Like, fucking, my phone will constantly tell me that my SIM card is not detected. I think I know I have pictures of this, but I usually try to pull it up on stream. I might go dig for it, but my phone will tell me that my SIM card isn't detected, and I'll reset it and reset it and reset it, and after the 5th or 10th or fucking 800th time, it'll come back on, and then I'll start getting text messages and emails from like 3 months ago. But for however long the SIM card wasn't being active, I lose all of those text messages. I lose all of those emails. I lose all of the only the element will tell me if I've got something. My signal hasn't really worked since I want to say April.
Yeah, my signal has been fucking
maybe
useless.
March.
Yeah, same. My signal. I will get text messages from people on Signal from like fucking week ago.
If I get a message, it's only from somebody else that I know is being monitored. Like, it's only Juan Pa, or it's only Gordon Dimmick, you know, or it's only somebody that's in that circle. And there's a couple other people that I know are on that dragnet, but I don't even want to say who they are, you know. But like, Juan Pa knows, we've talked about it on the stream before. Gordon knows, we've talked about it on the stream before. you know, so I'm pretty comfortable saying, you know, but like I swear since March, maybe April, those are the only people that I've ever gotten a signal message from. And I've had people bitch at me like, hey dude, I hit you up, you know, but only if they've got me on Element or maybe Telegram am I gonna see it. I don't get Twitter DMs.
Yeah, when it comes to text messages, like I have to reassure my mom that I'm not ignoring her, because I do not get text messages from my mom because I don't get any signal on my house. Like seriously, I wish the cord on this webcam was longer so I could walk out my front door and show people, like literally, like it says I have 5 bars. You can text me. I will not get anything. Twitter will not load if I turn my Wi-Fi off or anything. And the moment I take one step onto the pavement of the fucking road, the highway that goes by my house, everything comes back on. And it's like you're telling me that there's an entirely, you know, the Simpsons joke, a Corona entirely located within your kitchen. Like, yes, ironically, like I have a service blackout for my fucking, and my mom has the exact, like I have T-Mobile. My mom has T-Mobile. My mom gets service in my apartment. I do not get service in my apartment. So it's literally
I've had that happen.
Just me.
That happens to me quite a bit. I've seen it happen with Kendra's phone.
I've seen it happen to Kimber in real time. It's fucking wild.
It's a trip. It really is. Like back in the Occupy days when this shit was brand new, half of us initially were just chalking it up to there's shitty technology, there's too many people here, everybody's trying to, you know, use data, everybody's sucking up signal, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's still a cope of like, oh, the reason why live streams go down at protests is because the bandwidth is overloaded. It's like,
no, man, because very quickly into Occupy, we were meeting current Iraq and Afghan veterans who were like, oh, no, that's signal jammers. See, we've been using these in the field for the last 8 years.
Yeah,
blah, 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 blah.
Like Stingray towers were like news back in 2011, and they were outdated by then. Like, they have wild shit, bro.
Yeah. It's like it's insane that there are people who continue to walk around not only encouraging and pushing like the smears about you or all of us over at MCSC.
Don't leave yourself out. You've been smeared by Tim Pool, for fuck's sake.
Fucking. and here's the thing, dude. Like, if Tim Pool would have, I don't know, just rubbed the beanie a little bit harder for the static electricity and got a nice charge running through that brain and out of his mouth, he would have had me on to be like, okay, jackass, why do you think Pete Buttigieg is a CIA agent? And I would say he's not an agent. He's an asset. Let's talk about that. You know, let's talk about what a CIA asset is, Tim Pool. Let's have that conversation.
Yeah, and that's, I might as well go because we'll just air some dirty laundry. If any of you are listening to this, I will not name your name, but I will say this, to where I am now up to like 7 or 8 people that I know that have been on Tim's show and have brought up to Tim's face that he needs to have me on, and have had the discussion with Ian and Lydia and all of them. Lydia interacts with me on Twitter. They all know who I am. And a handful of them, which I will not mention their names because I don't want them to burn or get in trouble or whatever, have told me that they were told to their face that they do not want me on because I would endanger the show, that I am too radical, that I'm anything like that. So I am hit to the point of canceled that Tim Pool doesn't want to talk to me. Like, that is where I'm at, people. But Steve, if you could fill dead air for a second, I really gotta take a piss real quick.
No, go for it, man. So here's the thing with Tim Pool. Like, that guy has far too many people's ear to only occasionally have decent people on his show, and that's like limited to Clint and Michael Malice and Dave Smith. A couple other people that sometimes get to go on that show. I think Chrissy Marr's been on there, but Tim Pool reinforces State Department talking points more often than not. Tim Pool is, in as much as like Jimmy Dore is the extent of the allowable parameter of conversation in mainstream media,
Tim Pool's kind of that opposite spectrum, you know. Jimmy's just now talking about the shit that got all of us deplatformed or demonetized last year. I'm glad that he's talking about it. Normie audiences need to hear that. And Jimmy Dore is one of the first stops for people who are just starting to break away from that mainstream media structure. Jimmy's about as far as you can go in a mainstream audience, and still, you know, he's like the extent of the cuckoo left, you know, when he goes on Tucker Carlson's show.
The dirtbag left or whatever they said.
Yeah, but that's, you know, but it's, you know, it's a mainstream show. He's got 1 million subscribers or whatever. You know, he's hitting a mainstream audience at that point. If you're pulling the kind of numbers that any cable news audience is getting, that's representative of, you know, a mainstream audience.
Right. And I do want to address this really quick. It has nothing to do with Tim Pool being a coward, because there's something more important going on here, okay? Tim Pool has had Enrique Tario, the federal informant, before we all knew he was a federal informant, but we really all knew he was a federal informant.
We all knew he was a Fed.
Yeah. He's had him on during the height of the Proud Boys being smeared. He has Alex Jones on. He's had tons of extraordinarily controversial guests. It has nothing to do with being controversial, nothing to do with being canceled, has nothing to do with being cowardly. There's something about me I think someone directly quoted that, like, they didn't want anybody from extremist organizations on. He's had people from the Proud Boys on. He's had people that have he's interviewed people from Antifa. He's done all sorts of stuff like that. Not on his podcast, but like he's done all this before. He is not averse to that. So there's something else going on there. What it is, we can all go conspiratorial with it. We could all go financial with it and think he just doesn't want to get demonetized. You could pick a million different things, but the reality of the matter is,
you could look at Tim Pool's career and realize how many people have either been federal informants or have gone to jail as a result of a federal informant that have been directly in Tim's sphere, that Tim has had ample opportunity to get on video and be comfortable with, that Tim has been told to leave Venezuela specifically because of his cozy relationship with the intelligence community, that Tim mysteriously gets to go all of these cool places with Vice, that then all of these radical organizations have become highly targeted, with numbers of doors being kicked in anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months after Tim's leaving and hanging out with them. I mean, these could all just be coincidences. They could be. It could be bad luck.
It could be horrible OPSEC.
Yeah, it could be just a result of Tim shining light on what these organizations were and what the issues were. All of those things could be possible. Terrence McKenna said that coincidence is what you get when you apply bad theory. But that's a theory. I think that because Tim represents such a large, or has such a large audience, and is such a mainstream independent figure, to the point to where he can have conversations with Roger Stone, right? He can have conversations with people that are in Trump's inner circle and deliver all of those arguments and talking points flawlessly. But when it comes to people advocating unity, it's different. He can have Michael Malice on because Michael is a high status individual, right? We all know this because he reminds us every time he's on camera. I love him. I do.
Yeah. And also, and Malice, I think, has nailed the perfect balance to break through all of this bullshit, because Malice sneaks some wild unity shit in randomly, and it catches everyone the fuck off guard to where he'll be on a show and someone will go on some tirade about the fucking left, and he'll be like, hang on, they have valid points. No, they're right on this thing, blah, blah, blah. He'll say it to Glenn Beck's face.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Oh, and I found this out. The only other show that was talking about Biden's comptroller of currency when we was Glenn Beck.
Of all, and again, I love Michael Malice because Michael Malice is the only mainstream figure that ever talked about Duncan.
Yeah,
And he was,
yeah.
you know, like I'm
Or anarchy in general.
Right. And when I mention that, a lot of people get all weird and they're like, what about this one gun channel with 30,000 subscribers or whatever? You understand what I'm talking about. Stop getting weird.
Yeah.
Major, politically relevant, mainstream, accepted into the fucking halls of the White House and shit. Michael Malice talked about Duncan Lemp, and that's huge. He got Tim Pool and Luke Rakowski to talk about Duncan Lemp, which if I cannot fly that fucking flag and hate Michael Malice because he talked about the whole reason that flag fucking exists. Okay. So like, again, but not to, you know, to stay on point though, because we don't want to go dick riding Malice or whatever. I only wanted to bring up Tim Pool just to understand the level that I am fucked with. To where
he
like
quoted the Daily Beast to smear me. Fucking guy.
Which then wrote a whole article about his cat. Remember that? Never forget that shit. That was hilarious. But it's that I only bring up Tim because again, like I don't know. Tim could be totally legit. I've never talked to Tim. I don't know him as a person. I only know him as a personality, and that's very different. He could be totally legit, and he just doesn't want to get his fucking YouTube channel shut down. Okay. Cool for you, dude. I have zero beef. I'm never meant to talk shit about you. I'm just telling people when they're like, go on Tim Pool for the last like year. I'm like, trust me, I tried every fucking means possible. It's not happening. Stop harassing Lydia. Lydia has nothing to fucking do with it. Stop tagging Ian. Ian has nothing to do with it. Just leave these people alone. They don't want me on their show. It's their prerogative. It's fine. Leave them the fuck alone. Like that's all I'm saying. But I only bring it up just to go like the level of how untouchable I am. Which is wild that Jimmy ever fucking had me on. Like literally, and it's why it broke the entire fucking internet.
Because Jimmy had no idea.
Yeah, Jimmy kind of tripped and fell into me. Honestly.
Dude, the lack of, and I think it changed a little bit after that, but like the lack of vetting that Jimmy would do with people and the lack of prep that he does for his own show. I mean, that's historical and just, he's notorious for showing up charming with a handful of things that he's really good at talking about. And like, that's the show and that's the interview. And if you're expecting anything different, you're going to be like, wait, what am I here for again? You know, and dude, what he does is fantastic because he pulls a lot of people out of like that mainstream headspace and introduces them to some new ideas and some new concepts and some new people, you know, and you just got to hope that like wherever people go on the path after that is a little bit further than, you know, the 2 or 3 people that Jimmy's going to introduce you to.
Yep. And thank God for him for that. And again, like,
none
of this would have happened if it wasn't for Jimmy, because I've talked about it before. We were effectively canceled and dead. The movement was dead before Jimmy interviewed. Like, obviously plenty of us existed and we were still doing things, but mainstream, they had banned us off of everything. They had shut down every fucking page. They had arrested everybody, killed some people. Like, we were fucked. And Jimmy gave us second life. So again, like Michael Malice and Jimmy Dore, I will never talk shit about, because even if I have disagreements with them, even if I think they fail on some things or whatever, or even I hate some of their fucking opinions on shit. Thank you. I'll never be able to say anything else but thank you, because you made all this happen. And the damn wars would have never happened. Fucking Fred, Nick from Fred Hampton Leftist talking to Dave Smith would have never fucking happened. Spike Cohen going on Fred Hampton Leftist would have never happened if it wasn't for all of this. And more importantly than Jimmy, and more importantly than me, all of y'all that watch, all of y'all that follow me on Twitter, and people that have a hammer and sickle crossed out in their fucking bio retweeting Caitlin Johnstone. Thank you. Y'all did that. And I might have been the catalyst for it, but I mean, I'm just a fucking idiot with a microphone. You did it, so don't ever take that away from yourself, and don't ever pin all of this on me, because I've talked about it before, but when I do occasionally get any weird kind of hero worship of like, oh, Magnus is what we need, and we need Magnus, and we'll never do anything, and he's so important, and blah, blah, blah. That shit makes me sick to my fucking stomach, because that's the exact opposite of what I am advocating. I am advocating that me, Steve, Misty, Andrew, fucking Fiorella, all these people, Nico, we were all fucking nobodies with no power and no connection, and we just happen to trip and fall into this, and we are no different than you are, and you can do the same shit we're doing, and you have the power to do what we're doing, and you might even be able to do it better. So don't put us on a fucking pedestal. Like, you can do this.
I'm pretty fucking special, but yeah, I mean, yeah.
except for Steve. And I don't know if anyone can public speak as good as Glory Jones, but you can try.
Man, we rolled some of Glory's speech at the Assange event yesterday in LA, and she is just fantastic, dude. I am beyond grateful every day that for whatever reason Glory decided to go with this show. Because I know that there are other shows that were looking at her, they were like waiting to see, or like waiting for her to graduate from college, or what, something like that. And no, she's fucking hanging out with me and Sleepy.
We should get shout out Sleepy.
Dude, she's unstoppable. She's a fucking tremendous, incredible activist. She's a brilliant lady. Fucking yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, because that's the other thing I kind of want to say as we're wrapping up here, because we're coming up on 3 hours of this shit, which is ridiculous. This is gonna be my longest show I've ever done, besides the 12-hour super stream, which I wanted to fucking die at the end of. I was literally at the end like, thanks for talking to end the damn war. like it was bad, but yeah, literally, like, I mean, you're already here, Steve, so you already know, like, thank you so much, because y'all scooped me the fuck up, unashamed, unabashed. Fiorella and Pasta have probably done more to, like, correct the record on that flag and me than probably anyone has. Fiorella and Nico as well, and Pasta have gone to fucking war with people and actually dug in and done deep research and found videos and articles and everything and debunked all the lies about us. So, like, y'all are fucking family to me. Misty's fucking family to me. Kimber's practically my fucking sister at this point. Me and that girl have gone through some shit organizing and the damn wars and everything like that. That's family. Clint, Liberty Lockdown, and Jose and all the people at Tower Gang, y'all are fucking family. Like, all these people that have done so much for me that I wouldn't be shit if it wasn't, and they entertain my crazy fucking, egoist, sterner anarchism that everyone thinks fucking weird. Y'all entertain that shit. So, like, yeah, all of y'all, I appreciate it greatly, and everything that's led up to this point. And hopefully, it will continue. Eventually it will continue. It's just the question of how long until it continues again. Is it going to be a month break? Is it going to be a half a year break? Is it going to be a 2-year break? I don't know. We'll see how
let me say this. And it dawned on me in the middle of a 3-hour live stream that I did earlier today. Because it's the day for that, I guess. I don't know.
Perpetually live Steve from Slow News Day. This man has
Well, it hasn't been like that the last couple of months, man. I've had massive internet problems and all kinds of shit.
True.
But Dontel, unapologetic, came on the show today, and that dude's a 3 or 4 hour conversation every time. And so it happened, but it dawned on me that because of the mandates and how they're affecting first responders, how many are out of work now, how many are going to be subjected to unpaid leave starting tomorrow or the first business day in November. Well, there's going to be a couple of months where if you wanted to do direct actions and specific worker strikes, labor stoppages, and you wanted to get a jump on something like parallel societies, and you were, at least marginally versed on counter economics, or at least, have figured out barter or trade in the past, the next couple of months and this winter, man, it's going to be about as opportune a moment as we could be asking for. So that's why you're being fucked with so hard right now, Magnus. That's why, because all of the shit that we've been talking about, everything that you've been advocating for, the time to put all of that into play is right fucking now.
And it's exactly that. That's what I've been trying to, like, prep the pump on this of, like, I make that post every once in a while of, like, teach left wingers about, like, firearms and militia and community defense, and then teach right wingers about mutual aid and shit like that. Question mark, profit. you're absolutely right that like this is what we're coming from. That's what we're going for. And I've been trying to push so many people in that direction. You know, like I'm like, you know, it always feels like I'm habitually calling out Dave Smith, but it's just because I have the best idea when it comes to Dave Smith. So please, Dave, if you ever watch this or anyone, I'm not talking shit about you, but I brought up the idea of like, okay, if you're too busy to go to a protest as a content creator, then be like, hey, I'm Dave Smith. I'll be doing a show in Brooklyn next weekend. There's an anti-lockdown protest 2 days before. If you show the guy at the front door a picture that you were at the anti-lockdown protest, you get a free drink. You know, be creative. You know, like there's a way for everyone to fight. I forget his name, and I feel so bad that I forget his name. But there's a paraplegic disabled libertarian activist who's like permanently attached to a fucking, you know, scooter essentially. And this kid goes out and protests all the fucking time. He's a legend. He's all over the fucking place. You would have to be an insane level of disabled or something like that to not find a place in this and not find a way to fight. And we're getting to that point where it's time to fight. It is a time to fight for Assange. It's getting a time to fight against the mandates. There's a House vote on red flag gun confiscation coming up in a few weeks. So it's the time to fight for the Second Amendment. A bunch of states just banned 3D printed guns. It's the time to fight for fucking 3D print. Like, pick your issue, the environment, whatever. Pick your issue. We're coming up on the moment. And these strategies, these tools, everything I've been trying to teach people and all the shit I've been trying to spread around, like, this is the fucking moment. And if you count on me to lead this, then I have failed. I have failed in everything I tried to teach you, because that is not what the message has been. I've never wanted to get rich. I never wanted to get attention. I didn't want a bunch of fucking followers. I didn't care any of this shit. I wanted to teach people these tools and for them to use it. And I really hope that in my period of absence, if it happens, because who knows, like tomorrow, fucking, you know, Control Pew or something could parachute in from the heavens and give me a job and I'm fine. We'll see. But if I do go, I want to come back to what I was demanding being happening. And that would be that I will consider that the greatest victory of all fucking time. And I can die happy and irrelevant for the rest of my life and disappear. It'll be great.
Fucking A, man. Dude, the very first episode of the Free Assange Vigil that we did, like the opening of it is, we would like to become irrelevant with this. We would like to, you know, make it so that there's so much noise that our noise isn't even necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Like everyone knows me. Like I paint D&D miniatures, bro. Like, I'm not a badass. Okay, I'm not cool. Whatever. Whenever I give a speech, Steve's been there. He's seen it in firsthand. I'm vibrating like a fucking leaf. I'm so uncomfortable with fucking attention. The shit drives me insane. But I've considered it important enough to like do this.
I hate the megaphone. I do. I hate it. This, I'm cool with this.
Okay.
I like this. If we're
that is another W I will take to my gravestone, that I literally left Alex Jones like fucking like stopped and unable to read a script or act or do anything you want. He was just like, whoa. So I'm taking that one to my grave too. I'm very proud of that.
Hell yeah. Yo, hearing Roger Stone and making him leave a live stream, I'm going to take that one as a fucking win. It's such a fucking weird world, man. And just, I mean, the things that even you and I have like been on the ground for together the last year, just in the last year, it's fucking nuts, dude. When I left DC in January, on January 7th, I was on a flight from DC to LA, and it was all MAGA. Oh my God. And the stewardesses were scared shitless. They fucking buckled in all the way in the back. There was no drink service. There was nothing. Dude, people were openly fucking smoking. Like fucking vape, not cigarettes, dude. But like everybody's vaping on the plane. I had the fucking weed pen. I broke that shit out. I made friends with the fucking Fed behind me who was trying to recruit me into the Oath Keepers. It was hysterical, dude. He followed me around LAX for 5 hours, bro. It was wild.
God. Real quick, if this is gonna be a home run tour for me, God, do I love the fucking fact that for a year and a half now in the militia community, everyone was told, do not trust the Boogaloo boys. They're all feds. And the fucking Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, and the goddamn Oath Keepers, 3%ers, and the Proud Boys have all fallen on their swords as being fed from top to bottom.
Top to bottom.
It gives me such fucking I fuck you, I am right. Fucking
Stem the motherfucking stern. And look, but here's the thing: the people on that plane, they were pissed, and one of them told me we were set dressing, we got used.
There was people the day before that were like, "This is fucking some Fed shit." There's that famous video that went around of the dude trying to recruit people to storm the building the next day, and they all screamed "Fed" at him.
Ray Epps. Yeah. No, what the fuck? Revolver fucking has a whole story on that dude. The guy in the like red MAGA hat and the Carhartt jacket, gray haired dude.
Yep.
His name's Ray Epps. Yeah. Yeah, and I had it in the queue. I meant to do the story. I think when you and Clint were on, I haven't been able to get to it. I keep like running over and running out of time and shit like that. But it went from the MAGA people knew that they got played to holy fuck, we got a chance in Arizona, almost like that. You know, the goldfish brain for people is incredible. And then to go to leave on the 7th and come back on the 17th, St. Patrick's Day, for that event, for the Clovers event, and have the entire Capitol with like blast walls and razor wire surrounding it. Fucking
National Guard at Target, National Guard at CVS, National Guard chilling in a park.
I mean, we're standing in front of I think it was NBC, which is literally a block away from one of the entrances to the Capitol. And it is, I mean, 12-foot high blast walls with concertina wire on it. It looked like a fucking war zone.
Yeah, it looked like the DMZ, for fuck's sake. Like,
again, over some people who fucking stayed between the velvet ropes and took selfies with the security forces on the inside of the building that they were insurrecting. This is after one of them shot an unarmed woman. It hit him with tear gas, and even then they still stayed inside the velvet fucking ropes. You know, at no point were any of the random regular people in that building
that weren't FBI agents.
Yeah, to storm the halls of power and execute those responsible for their oppression, thereby seizing the government that is by and for. No, dude.
No. Jason, you need to name it. It was the Medieval Times guided tour. That's what it was. It was the costumes and everything. But and again, like you know, to keep this personal, because this is a personal hour. I said, I got involved with the Boogaloo movement before the Lansing protest that the Wolverine Watchmen were at, where the media claimed that we stormed that building, that we violently took guns in there and pushed our way into the building, we're threatening everything. Once again, 10 out of the 14 people in the Wolverine Watchmen that were at that event were FBI agents, and people did not storm the building. They were stopped in a single file line and given temperature checks and let into the building. Sounds familiar. And not only that, but not only was there 10 feds there, but the director of the operations against the Whitmer case that set all this up and put those feds there was moved from Michigan to Washington, D.C. just a month before January 6th. So the person who did proto J6 in Michigan was moved to D.C. before January 6th. And again, I knew all those guys. I talked to all those guys. I always bring up my buddy Brian Puffenberg, who was a fellow Boog, really cool guy. All he did was went to a training thing at a public range it's the Wolverine Watchmen, the Michigan Home Guard, which is more of like a fuddy, normal conservative militia, and then some Boogs. And he went to there at a public range. That entire training operation, by the way, in the BuzzFeed and Revolver leaks, was shown to be set up by the FBI agent, and the FBI agent paid some people to go to that training operation. Brian, then he went to that. That's the only interaction he ever had with the Wolverine Watchmen, besides being in some shared Facebook groups that had like 30,000 people in them. They raided his house. They took I think it was like $11,000 or some shit worth of computers, cell phones, all of his guns and everything, investigated him for a week, turned around and said, okay, Brian, it's obvious you had nothing to do with this plot. You're free to go. We're not charging you with anything. Brian was then like, hey, can I get my computers, my cell phones, and my guns back? And they told him, we'll get back to you. And that was over a year now. And it killed his insurance company, because all of his data for his insurance company and everything were all on those computers. He lost all of his guns, and that's why he got out of activism. So again, if you think my story is far-fetched, go talk to Brian. Go talk to Susie Dawson. Go talk to fucking anybody, bro. Like, they will do wild shit. Wild shit to people.
Dude, I mean, if you start looking into people who have blown the whistle on pharmaceutical companies, or people who have done research on products that actually cure diseases as opposed to mitigate or treat symptoms, you will find a stack of bodies, and just, I mean, entire buildings worth of ruined lives, all in the name of protecting something that maybe helps somebody but generates a ridiculous amount of income. And that's just on the business end of it. Like, when it comes to the truth end of it, or the advocation of the abolition of the state, like, it levels up from there. Earlier on the show today, we were going over that list of who is a domestic violent extremist now, and it's everybody. It's everybody.
I had the picture on my phone, but my buddy, that he's currently in the Navy. He is an officer in the Navy. He leaked out this picture of a training seminar that they did. He took a picture of this screen they had that said that they were monitoring people in the U.S. military that were part of these domestic terror groups. It included pictures of Pepe, Black Panthers, anti-fascists, 3%ers, Oath Keepers, environmental activist organizations, Black liberation groups, and Boogaloo. That's everyone. And he's a great friend of mine. I've talked to him almost every day for a year, and he had to go dark because he was worried the military would start looking into him and court-martial him for being part of the Boogaloo movement. And literally, all this kid did was shitpost on Twitter. No organizing, never showed up in front of anywhere with a gun or nothing, just shared memes. And he was terrified. And he's an officer in the fucking military. So it's like,
dude, I mean,
yeah, there we go.
They really do hit everybody. If your ideological agenda is derived from bias related to race or ethnicity held by the actor against others, including a given population group, or you're an animal rights activist or an environmental activist, if you're pro-abortion, if you're anti-abortion, if you're a sovereign citizen, if you're an anarchist, if you're a militia member, if these two are my favorite, though, the two at the top on the center, and I get the my right hand side. The ideological agendas derived from anti-government or anti-authority sentiment, including opposition to perceived economic, social, or racial hierarchies, or perceived government overreach, negligence, or illegitimacy. That is, every action taken by the government, by every government ever in the history of always. And then all other domestic terrorism threats, the ideological agendas that we didn't talk about, but could maybe include, having a combination of personal grievances and beliefs with potential bias related to religion or gender or sexual, or it's something. I don't know. We're going to figure out what the woke mob is mad about, and then we're going to say that anybody who disagrees with the woke mob is violent extremists.
Yeah, and you know another example, just because I would regret for this to be the final show and not bring them up, but you had the Rise of the Moors group, which got pulled over in Maryland, like radical sovereign citizen black separatist movement. FBI fucking went after them. They goddamn deployed MRAPs and armored vehicles and got the entire fucking police department of Maryland on those motherfuckers, dude, and they have disappeared. And nobody's familiar with their case, and they haven't been released, and the media won't talk about it. Those motherfuckers could be dead for all we know. And again, that if you're a lefty and you're like, oh, this is just happening to this white radical supremacist fucking libertarian, blah, 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 whatever, black separatist fucking group, okay? What do you want to say, dude? These dudes were like a chiller version of the Weather Underground, and they got fucking wiped off the face of the internet. Their YouTube channel deleted, their Facebook page deleted, everything gone.
Well, I mean, even what's happened to Maj Toure over the last couple of years.
Yeah, but again, you think what I'm saying is crazy? Go talk to Maj. Maj can tell you some fucking stories, dude, about how he gets fucked with. Like,
I would love to talk to Maj, by the way, if you have a connection with him.
I could try, but Maj, he's simultaneously a very busy man, and he's simultaneously a very stoned man, so it's difficult.
Awesome, I could relate. I can.
Exactly.
I know the words of that song.
Which again, Maj and Spike Cohen were the first people to ever reach out to us and be like, "Hey, what are you guys about?" Maj showed up to the original Unity rally, where so this is funny. You can, if you dig back far enough, you can find a Norwegian media company that interviewed me like half a year before I got popular anywhere else. That took my name as Dick Hardy. I don't know how they got my name as Dick Hardy, but in the interview, they put me down as Dick Hardy was sitting.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I've been around for a long
You
time.
had Dick Hardy as a stage name, and you went with Magnus, bro.
Nobody would have took me seriously if I said Dick Hardy, though. Yes, homeboy knows he was there for that. He knows. He fucking knows. It's real. I'm not lying. I swear to God. So many stories I tell her is like, no way, that didn't happen. And I'm like, The fact that I shook hands with Linda Sarsour in Louisville, and she gave me direct instructions of how to provide security for the BLM or activist organization she was doing there. That's real. People in the chat that were there, they can tell you my life is fucking wild. I am the weird confluence between Cassandra Fairbanks, Max Blumenthal, Alex Jones, and Linda Sarsour. That's
dude. You know what? No, man. Look, okay. So I interviewed Cassandra Fairbanks and like met and got to hung out with her and whatever.
Because she's a big Assange warrior. There's a lot of things people don't know about her.
So I met her at the Emergency Free Speech Summit that Alex organized in D.C. right after Roger Stone got sentenced and his liberty was on the line, and we brought everybody together. And
CNN was there,
and it was in that building, in the room that night. And this is on the WikiLeaks flag. Enrique Tarrio, Cassandra Fairbanks, Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, Gavin McInnes, Michael Flynn Jr., and me and Andrew and Kimber. Kimber was there too. And Andrew had the bowler hat on, and he screamed at these motherfuckers during the question and answer portion. Right at the end, it was fantastic. Chastised each and every one of them. We flipped the whole event into a free Assange rally. We did. It was a thing for Roger Stone. And we flipped the whole dude. And then like the day before, or 2 days before, I can't remember which, we're standing in front of the White House. I'm being interviewed by Medea Benjamin. And then to like turn around and go from that and Lee Camp and Max Blumenthal to Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes and fucking, String Bean Gavin, like within the same 48 hours. and to have the exact same conversations, share the exact same message, get the exact same reaction out of, like, you know, the vast majority of the people that we were communicating with. Like, that's good shit. And that's what can't happen.
Yeah, and that's why I have slotted in so easily with like you, Nico, Glory, Fiorella, and everything, because like y'all were almost at the same time, because Action for Assange started up like late 2019, right? Yeah,
It was the summer. Yeah, it was a couple of months
Yep.
after Unity for J folded up.
Yeah, so like y'all literally started the same time that the Unity Coalition, which used to be called fucking blanking on it. It used to be the Clarification Convention was the first group on Facebook that was a bunch of Boogaloo people, and essentially it was prominent people in the movement that ran local organizations or whatever, and we all got together and we voted on like what we wanted to do. And obviously, being anarchists, we couldn't tell anyone what we were going to do, but we just wanted to kind of feel out the direction we were going to take this movement. And that was the first time it was brought up. Should we march with BLM? And we all voted nearly unanimously. I think there was only one dissenting vote among like 20 people that we were going to go march with BLM. And that was summer of 2019. While that's going on, you guys on the other side were pretty much doing the same fucking thing with the Unity message. So that's why I've gotten along so well with you guys, is there seems to be like this weird spirit bomb in the zeitgeist of humanity that went off in summer of 2019, where like select people kind of got it all of a sudden, you know, and every like even if they got it before, we decided to actually start doing something about it, and it's grown and it's worked and it's cool. I like it.
I mean, we took Action for Assange from literally 4 of us doing a fucking podcast to a dozen or more, like, on the ground doing events, regardless of whether or not we are, you know, functioning decentralized groups throughout the US. And then there's like another half a dozen more that are specifically like calling themselves Action for Assange in a handful of other countries. You know, I mean, like, no bullshit, there was no on the ground grassroots Assange activism in the US until us, you know, and that's why every possible turn that they make our lives interesting.
Yep. I'm actually going to pull it up before we close out, because I do want to get out of here. But let's see here. Albums. Photos of me. Let's see if I can find it. Let me scroll. It's got to be in here somewhere. I know it's in here somewhere. Sorry, people. I'm trying to find this.
Oh no, man. Dude. You've been on with me in the morning. When I don't have Sleepy Josh, I'm fucking helpless.
Right. Yeah, I'm scrolling through my Google Photos. That actually did sync, so some things were saved, but I mostly lost everything, which was not fun. I'm trying to find the picture of me organizing the Million Mass March in Detroit all the way back in fucking like 2014 or some shit. But it's got to be here somewhere. Well, sorry, people. Bear with me. I did not plan to do this, but I was just inspired to do this all of a sudden.
When the day that we started talking about an End the Damn Wars event in DC, and I saw Eric in the chat, I think, the Koi Contrarian. There were a whole bunch of people hanging out at the Airbnb that day. Like, Eric was there, Jordan Renee was there. Shouts to her. She's fucking awesome. Garland Nixon was in the building.
Let's say I have her art, so
that's Christine's.
Oh, sorry, Christine. Yeah, my bad. I suck.
All good. There were a couple other people that came through, and like Pasta and Fee were over there. We're all hanging out on the back deck. Dude, we wound up getting like a fucking pimp ass spot.
like right fairly close downtown DC to where we were going. It just one of the nicer Airbnbs that we wound up getting when we go to do these events, and like the realization that holy fuck, it's probably just gonna be us if there is a 9/11 event, isn't it? Was like one of the more disturbing and yet familiar feelings that I've had this year. You know, like shit. And to realize in the interspersing 6 months or whatever, and to see how many In the Damn Wars events popped off, and to see how many Assange events have popped off, and to see people pop up in places that I didn't even think, you know, that had people that gave a fuck about this shit. Like, I know that I'm wrong. I would know that I was wrong when I felt that way. I know it. And that's cool. I like that.
We pulled off that crazy thing. I wasn't able to find the picture, but I'm gonna some other like ancient history of my kind of activism or whatever is I'm gonna share this screen of boop share screen, and this kind of explains where I come from a lot, because so this was in 2015 in Hammond Square, which for people that don't know, The Guardian and InfoWars of all people released an article that Hammond Square, it was a CPD black site in Chicago that they were taking activists to, environmental activists, BLM activists and everything, and torturing them off the books, literally like chaining them to a fucking pole and like beating them and tasing them and shit like that. And I was here. And I'm not in this video, but it's one of these videos. I can pull it up, but I've shown it before. But the thing I want to make like kind of important about this is you can start seeing a lot of like anonymous and shit, because the entire Detroit anonymous kind of group that I ran with, that was an Assange group and everything, we traveled out here, and I was living in Chicago at the time, but I had people from Detroit that showed up, like homegirl right here. Literally, she's from Detroit. She was one of the people that marched with the Million Mass March with me. And the thing that's important about this is you'll see homegirl there. She's wearing a Libertarian Party shirt. And then you see an InfoWars thing. Joe Biggs was there. Fucking, and then the Oath Keepers were there. And I have a picture. I've shared it quite a lot. But there's pictures of a guy with an Oath Keepers hat standing in front of a red and black anti-fascist anarcho-communist flag. And we were all there. Black Lives Matter protesters were there. InfoWars was there. The Libertarian Party was there. Anti-fascists were there. Fucking everyone. Every single group was there. Nobody fought. Nobody argued. There was no bullshit. We all came together in that moment to shut down this black site, because we all, for our different reasons or whatever, some of us might have had crazy fucking I talked to a guy that was like a straight up, you know, lizard people motherfucker that like unironically believe that. And or the, you know, anti-fascist, like anarcho-communist shit. Regardless of your belief of why this was wrong, we were all there and we were all like, this is fucking wrong. And I just assumed that's what activism was, you know? And that's the energy I bring to where when I came back to politics and I'm like, hey, you know, I try to show up to a police brutality protest with a bunch of libertarians and shit and be like, hey, you know, we also don't like no-knock raids. We also don't like qualified immunity. We don't like all the things you don't like. And we were booed out by like the woke crowd using fucking information provided to them by like Bellingcat and fucking, you know, all these CIA mega corporations and shit. And just like you said, that moment where you're sitting in there and you're like, okay, who's going to do this? Well, I guess it has to be fucking us. Like, that's what a lot of us in the unity movement, you know, because I'm not the first. A lot of people, I just happen to accidentally get popular. A lot of people put in a lot more work in the movement to do this unity shit. And I wish I could shout them all out and they could all be way more popular and famous than me. That's how the fucking dice lands. And we kind of did it. So just, you know, as a closing statement, like I said, I'm not a hero. You can do what I'm doing. Be proud of yourself. And, you know, I'll update on my Twitter. I might make a video if anything changes, but, for now and indefinitely, this will be the last Unity or Death show. I'm not going to be able to participate in End the Damn Wars anymore. And we had the whole plan where we were going to go protest the FBI at the Wolverine Watchmen trial, but they keep moving that back. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to attend that or not, because I might have to move before then. But if I do, I'll update on that. But if, otherwise, thank you so much. The people that have given me hundreds and hundreds of fucking dollars to stay alive, people that have subscribed to the Patreon, people that have bought shirts, you, Steve, and Misty, and everybody that made this even fucking possible, everyone who showed up to end the damn wars, everyone who's partaken in this unity movement one way or another. Just fucking love all y'all, and I appreciate it. And I don't know if you want to say anything to close out, Steve, before I just kind of drop the stream, but yeah, I'm awful at outros, so.
And thank you, dude, for showing up. Because that's so goddamn important. And when you can't, it's important that other people show up for you, or show up because they need to show up, because it's their fucking turn. This whole fucking this thing that we're doing, not even activism, but the specific kinds of activism that we're doing, it's not sustainable. It's not, man.
We could all do this forever if we had, I know you've made the joke several times of like, hey, if Elon Musk wants to fucking pay my bills for a while, I can do this forever. But we don't really have that, and more than anything, it's middle class and fucking poor people that have made anything we've fucking done possible. There would be no action for Assange. Like none of the Clovers events would have happened if it wasn't for fucking poor as shit people. Thank you so much. But like we're not popular. We don't have big sponsors. The largest donation to end the damn wars was $500, and we all fucking shit our pants when we got it.
Yeah.
Like, holy fuck, $500,
Yeah,
we're not.
That's basically all of the action for Assange events. I think one time we had $1,000, and that was somebody who pooled 3 or 4 other people to make the single donation.
Yep. And paying for that truck ain't cheap, and paying for the equipment ain't cheap, and paying for the Airbnb, goddamn, the Airbnb will fucking bleed you dry. We ended up paying $1,000 for 5 days for an Airbnb, and that was the sketchiest Airbnb I'd ever fucking stayed in my life. Every single time I went out to smoke a cigarette, there was gunshots and fucking outside shit. Like it's not
so
cheap.
DC's back.
Yeah. DC never dies. DC hustles harder, baby. But yeah. So yeah, just I appreciate all that. And Colette's fucking in here. Like she's not in here tonight, but Colette and Lauren literally reached out to me first and were like, hey, you want to do End the Damn Wars events everywhere instead of just DC? And then they had a larger event in Arizona than we did, in like 107-degree fucking weather with even less funding, So it's like, y'all have the power to do this. My homie Jesse, that the one day I worked for Yale before I quit because they tried to get me to elect a Republican, and I fucking hated it. So I quit immediately. But I met him there, and he had an event in Vegas with no money, no social media, whatever. And he got like 12 people out, and they talked to a bunch of people on the street. Like, you can do this shit. I believe in you. So yeah, again, yeah. I'm awful at outros. So love all y'all. Stay safe, stay free. Hopefully they don't take the opportunity of me not being rapidly connected to the internet to fucking kill me. We'll see. But I'm joking. Chill. And then to the FBI Detroit field office. I'm charging you for parking if you show up to my house again. And yeah, have a good night, y'all.
Fuck the state and free Assange.
Fuck the state and free Assange. Deuces.